Welcome everybody to the boardroom on very confident. Austin, thank you for our question. We can come to order at 6:17. On the agenda today is flag salute. Then we'll do announcements. And then anybody speaking for you because the board on the agenda items followed by a public comment from Mr. Lyman. And an opportunity for the board to have a discussion amongst ourselves in public. And then we'll adjourn with the so with that, please rise and flag to
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no announcements. Is that over? Have any speakers wish to address the board on non-agenda? There is a translator available for Spanish for those who find it, and his name is Armando. Armando? Yes. Bienvenido, Armando. Gracias. And so just asking Armando on this. Ms. Ellen, are there any speakers wishing to address the board on non-agenda? With that, we move to item number 5, and the full line. And so with that, Superintendent Ibarra has a few comments to make.
Yes, thank you, President House. Make sure I do it that. There we go. Good evening, board. Good evening, community. Tonight I'm going to start as I've done in the past with a brief overview and also addressing some of the questions that I've come since we met once. I want to just mention a couple of things that we've heard about this time. And just regarding our timeline, I just want to note that it's a really difficult time. And when you think about the timeline and really the runway we have to make a decision, I just want to be clear that runway is a short period of time. Spring, we work on enrolling students, getting them set for the next year. Fall, we evaluate enrollment. And it's between fall and spring that we really have the opportunity to dig in, to look at current trends, to analyze demographic reports. And we have done that starting in September, October. And I realize it does feel like it's a quick timeline, but at the end of the day, it really is the time when we have to work through. I also want to clarify that really the primary reason for engaging in this work is based on the actual enrollment that we're seeing at our 2 small middle schools. The numbers of enrollment currently enrolled in our 2 small middle schools is low. And that is really the primary reason that we're engaging in this work. As superintendent working with our cabinet, it's our obligation to monitor enrollment, to look at trends to ensure that we spend our dollars in a way that maximizes benefit for our students. That really is our charge. And bottom line, when we're looking at the data as it stands, we believe that continuing to operate 2 schools, 2 small schools that are significantly enrolled is not in service to all of our students. I know it's difficult. It's a very difficult decision because we value things, and often the things that we value are in conflict with one another. Sometimes it's hard to have a choice when an enrollment is small. So we're trying to balance that. And regardless of our decision, we know that there's trade-offs, and we have to make trade-offs one way or another. And it does fall on the board. The board's decision, with the support of the cabinet and our recommendations to weigh these trade-offs to make the decision that we believe is best, evaluating what we know today, evaluating the facts in front of us and the information shared with you. So with that, I'm just going to launch into our deck. I'm not going to spend a lot of time Just want to kind of reiterate a couple of points. In that first slide that was showing here, really the question is, should we consider transitioning from 2 TKs down to 1? We see our current enrolled numbers. Approximately 30% of our students attending 5th grade in Sandpiper and Nesbit matriculate into those programs in 6th grade. It just shows the level of transition between at this time. We're looking at a number of factors, including transportation, financial feasibility, enrollment trends, community desire for middle school programs, as well as community input. And I can keep up with this slide. The next study, I wanted to address kind of the idea that if we choose to maintain the status quo, the idea of ensuring that we're operating sustainable schools. What does that look like? We maximize enrollment at our small schools, and how does that impact things for this? I quote about 36 to 72 students would need to be added to our small school programs. We might say that a broad range. Yes, it is. And I'm looking at numbers at different points in time. 36 is looking at current enrollment. We brought it up to maximum. The 72 is actually looking at survey data from last spring, how many kiddos. There was the delta. Of course, we enrolled people, students following the survey. So roughly 36 to 72. And it's possibly exacerbated by the feeling of frustration for families who already have transfer requests to go to Ralston and outside of St. They can include those in the service. The second piece that I wanted to mention is kind of the idea I want to put out there that if we were to select option 2 or 3, the reduction of the middle school program as it was Sandpaper, we can further look at another option. One is to make the transition once, allow our current 6th grade and 7th grade families to make a decision to attend the other small school or transfer to Ralston. Option 2, in my opinion, is probably not the most optimal. There's lots of complications there, but we could look at maintaining 6th graders graduating to 7 and 7 graduating to 8, slow roll phase out. And that would probably be moving down to a self-contained classroom, much like our elementary schools are, for that short period of time. I don't know how feasible that second option is for both programs. There's programmatic concerns, specifically with the IB model with learners. And the final slide is just reinforcing pretty much what I've already shared. I do want to take a moment. The survey is just simple information. What our families were feeling at one point in time regarding middle school preferences and ideas. It does not give us a pathway of what option to select. It simply provides us a lens into what the community was thinking at one point in time about programs and desired outcomes from programs. See here. And then of course, transportation is one item that comes up. Regardless of the solution, we are committed to working with Samtrans. I attended the Samtrans meeting today and we started exchanging information with Samtrans. And that is an ongoing process. So we work with them, closely with them to meet our need. They also are responsive to the broader operations of transportation. So they work with us to the best of their abilities and we have to determine more about it. With that, I will pass it back over to President Fox. I should just mention timeline. January has been our community outreach. This is our 4th listing session. The board will be coming to the board in February out of the recommendation to move forward with next steps so that we can begin spring enrollment and make adjustments for the 26, 27 school. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. At this time, I just want to kind of go over some good public comment ground rules. Please complete the signature card, tell me if you have that. 3 minutes per person per ballot. The board may adjust the timing based on the number of speakers, and we certainly want to hear from you. So please, speak cognizant of the time. Especially if somebody has to send the perspective in, then this shows the next point if you have multiple points. We like to certainly make sure we fit everybody in and hear from everybody. I know I understand this is a sensitive topic, but it really impact on students, families, and staff. And so please focus your comments on each experiences and outcomes rather than naming or something out individually. And again, our goal is to get perspectives from a wide range of people. So welcome and thank you. And Ms. Linder, is there you have the first couple minutes?
Yeah, so I'll be calling up a few of you at a time. Just open back to a timer. All right. So first speaker, set of speakers, we have Tuba, Jordan Webster, and Jennifer Hayes.
Hello, my name is Tuba Shangaboğlu. I have one son who is currently in the corporate student at Redwood Shores Elementary School. We have lived in Redwood Shores for 5 years, and we have been homeowners for the past 4 years. One of the main reasons we chose to move this neighborhood and buy a home here was because of the excellent schools. My son is my only child, and since he is still in 4th grade, we have not yet decided which middle school he will attend. To be honest, I had not even begun thinking seriously about middle school options. Because of that, I did not complete the survey that was conducted 3 months ago. Had I known that the result of this survey potentially lead the closure of this school in our district, I absolutely would have participated. I truly believe that we still have time before this decision need to be made. I'm also here today, not because I saw the meeting announcement on Parents Square, but because other parent friends informed me about how serious this situation is. I want to emphasize that many parents like me, those children still have time before entering middle school, may not even be aware that a neighborhood school such as Sandpiper or Nesbitt is at risk of being closed. And even if they are aware, they may not yet have enough information to determine which middle school will be the best fit for their child. Many parents simply have not had time or opportunity to research schools like Sandpiper or Nesbitt and fully understand what they offer. Making such an important long-term decision within such a short time frame feels rushed and premature. I respectfully ask the board to keep both Sandpiper and Nesbitt open. Thank you to the board members for taking the time to listen. I would also like to thank to parents and their children who are working so hard to advocate our schools and to protect our community.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jordan Webster. I'm a proud. Thank you. Hi, I'm Jordan Webster. I'm a proud school parent of an invested 2nd grader. I taught in the district for 13 years, and I am currently a teacher at Carmel High School. I care deeply about our schools and the long-term health of the district and the broader educational community. I want to acknowledge the many families that have spoken really passionately about keeping their K-8 schools, our K-8 schools open. And as a Nesbitt parent, I see firsthand the pride and the vibrance of the educational community there. I'm here tonight to speak for another group that hasn't maybe been as visible, but is just as important, families who value choice, particularly the option of attending a comprehensive 6-8 middle school. So I know we're facing declining enrollment, and these are difficult decisions that no option is painless.
But what concerned me is the possibility, and this sort of circulated informally or maybe formally, that if all three schools remain open, families lose the ability to choose and instead be assigned to schools based on location. For many families, the larger middle schools that deliver educational choice, it offers scale programs, electives, and peer groups that families have chosen, right? Preserving that choice matters. I believe that transparency matters just as much. And forced assignment is a potential outcome. Families deserve to hear that clearly, weigh and honestly. If preserving choice means making a difficult decision, including closing a school, I urge the board to consider that openly and courageously. In other words, if we don't have the numbers to sustain 2 smaller middle schools, we may need to close one to preserve the opportunity for all families to choose the size school that's best for their kids. Thank you for your time and your service. Liz.
Hi there, my name is Jennifer, and I'm proud parent of Ms. Puma and Earlston Round, and I want to thank you all. First of all, I don't envy the decision that you're grappling with. This is really, really hard, and I really appreciate the deep listening and the intense and thoughtful consideration that you're each putting into this. So thank you so much for what you're doing. I know it's hard. I'm here tonight to ask you to please preserve school choice for all our families in this district. I think it's how we serve all our middle school students most effectively, and I think it's one of the greatest assets of our district. That when your kid hits middle school, you get to say, hey, would my kid be best served in a smaller, more supportive or targeted learning environment? Awesome, we have that. And would my kid be thriving better in a larger, more comprehensive middle school? Awesome, we have that too. And I really, really do not want to see that choice taken away from all of our families. And this is really hard for me to say, because I know that there is a lot of love for all 3 of our schools. And so part of me does not like standing up here saying what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it because I think it's important to say, which is that if we do not have the number and the demand to sustain 2 small schools for the long run, then I would rather see you make the very hard choice to close one of them, to preserve the opportunity for every kid in our district to have the chance to attend the small or large school is going to be the best fit for them. Because I think what I worry about is that we try to keep all 3 schools open because it's hard to choose to close one. And then you end up having to force families into those based on where they live, whether or not that's the best fit for their kids. And I really think that that would be a disservice to our middle schoolers. I really want all kids to be able to choose with their families what school environment is going to work for them. And I'd like to have that option open to all our kids. So again, I know this is an incredibly hard place to be in, and there's no easy, clear, black and white, right or wrong choice here. But I ask that as you move forward, you please preserve that really essential school choice for all of our kids. Thank you so much.
Ms. Alger, we can have a few quote couple or.
Sure. So, next up we have Shane Hennig, Ben Shane, Leo Shane, and Lily Gibbons.
Hello everyone, my name is Shane and I'm in third grade from Sandpiper School. Tonight I'm going to make my announcement on middle school. First, because of the community, most students in elementary and elementary would probably want to go to the same middle school in schools. If we close our middle school, then our students will have to go to other middle schools and they will have to adjust to new environments. They might feel scared or insecure. Second, middle schoolers find great role models for us. Every Monday morning during our assembly, there's something called singing, so it works like this. The teacher We students from sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade, and awards them $20. When they're awarding the students, he or she describes how the student is being fun and respectful. Now, middle school do not have role models to look up. Third, our school has an amazing office love program. From fourth grade to eighth grade. From middle school, then it would only be from fourth grade to fifth grade, and that would be less fun. And I love music. I play the cello and the piano. I really look forward to joining the orchestra. In summary, Sandpiper Middle School is a great school and not be closed. Thank you for listening. Have a nice evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lee, and I'm here this evening on behalf of Tamara Fatima, who is able to attend tonight. So with her permission, I'll be reading her statement as follows. Dear Board of Trustees and Mr. DeGuara, I am a proud parent of 2 students at River Shores Elementary, and our family has been looking forward to sending them to Sandpiper Middle School. We have taken our children countless times to Sandpiper so they could practice getting to school independently. I strongly urge the board to drop the idea of closing the middle school. My concerns are centered around the impact on student achievement. Sandpiper provides a stable, familiar learning environment. Research shows that forced transfers can lead to learning loss and emotional distress, particularly for our most vulnerable students. Sandpiper is a community anchor. It is more than just a building. It is the heart of our Redwood Shores neighborhood. Closing the middle school will lead to an increase of vehicles and traffic, which goes against government and some California green initiatives. Our children's education and the stability of our neighborhood should not be the first items on the chopping block. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Mr. DeGuara. My name is Ben Chang, and this is my twin brother Ted. We are both third graders at Sandpiper. We are not even in middle school yet, but we think it's important to support our middle school friends and teachers. We'd like to sincerely ask that you keep Sandpiper Middle School open, and we will tell you why. First, the middle school students teach us a lot of cool things, especially during senior families. Senior families is an activity where TK through 8th graders gather like a family and everyone. The older kids teach us life listening skills and how to be good learners. A good learner shows full body listening, and they are respectful of other bodies when we are on the playground. I also learned Spanish from the middle schoolers that a small birthday and roll. Sometimes we get to pick fun games and make crafts together. Without the middle schoolers there to take care of us, our secret families might just get a little too wild. Middle school students make me feel like I am at home at Sandpiper. When I'm with them, I feel a lot of joy in my heart. They greet me in the morning and make me feel encouraged every day. They encourage us to do hard things and make good choices. I am a twin and I don't have an older sibling, so in my senior family, I get to have big brothers and sisters that I never had. Finally, we love our Sandpiper Middle School teachers. They're always bringing us in the morning and hanging out with us during morning recess. And even though I am just a third grader, they know my name too. The middle school teachers work very hard to prepare the students for high school, and it would be sad if they lost their jobs because they made lots of effort during their careers. Think about it. How would you feel if you lost your job? Sad, right? That is what the teachers would feel, and I think neither middle schools should close because all the teachers would feel disappointed. So let's try to keep Sandpiper and Nesbit Middle School open by brainstorming ideas to get more students to join us. We can convince other children to come to Sandpiper by writing emails, making flyers, and maybe hanging up banners to tell them more about our strengths and awesome activities. For all the reasons we have given, please keep our school open and thanks for listening.
Hi, Steve Moore, and good evening again. My kids. I'm here tonight to address the point made earlier about the enrollment numbers. I believe it was about 36 to 72 on the slide. We don't deny that these numbers are in the present, they're in the current state. They assume status quo in the current state, where the smaller schools are under-resourced and under-promoted. We posit a better future we can work on together, not to deprive choice, but to better inform that choice. There can be a world outside of false dichotomy of geography versus choice. There can be a better choice. When we say the schools are under-resourced and under-promoted, by under-resourced, we recognize that the small schools naturally receive fewer resources as responsible. There's an active group of parents ready, willing, and able to contribute work with the district to address this resource. There are some ideas from the children, and many trustees have a letter in their inboxes with plans on how to drive their enrollment with work with their need. Imagine what that will happen with the time. We can work on resourcing together. I am promoted to recognize that the district may have tried to drive enrollment, but our lived experience is one of low awareness and engagement. Anecdotally, Redwood Shores Elementary fifth graders receive more information about Ralston 5 miles away than any information about Sandpiper 1 mile away. We can work on enrollment together. With better resource and promotion, firms believe that choice can be very much kept for every family, not deprived, but better informed, with better information to make the best choice for each family. The work of education is to take children in their current state and to improve them to something better and more tomorrow. Let us do the same to our schools. To the numbers on the slide, they are not set in stone. We would never tell a struggling child that based on what we know today, based on their present, so we can be fiscally responsible parents. Let's not do that to our schools either. Give us the time to nourish your schools. These will option.
Okay, so we can now come up, Angela Zajuki, Jim Bazella, Alexi Patel, and Tricia Moon.
Hello, Mr. Bora and Honorable Board of Trustees. My name is Angela Sayufi, and I am proud parent of Boston 7th grader and a Sandpiper 3rd grader. Thank the board for giving the community the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight because I'm very concerned with the news that the board is considering keeping all middle schools open and capping enrollment at Ralston Middle School, thus removing choice from us. With Ralston being the only comprehensive middle school in the district, restricting access to its valuable resources creates inequitable learning opportunities for the students of this district, and moving in this direction should be unconscionable. It is my understanding from your slides that most families in the RSSD want to send their kids to Ralston, myself included. And as it is a better fit for my children and the better fit for other children's needs. Based on the data, the enrollment for Sandpiper at Nesbitt is only enough to keep one neighborhood middle school open. And with that information, it makes the most financial sense to only keep one neighborhood middle school open. For students and families where a small community middle school is the right option for their needs, I hope access to one remains a resource available to them. However, there is so much individual and community benefit in having children from all over the district and the different elementary schools come together in a larger middle school. But I really hope this option remains. The board should not be forcing children to attend schools that are not an educational fit for them. Remaining
But the same small cohort of students from kindergarten through 8th grade could be detrimental to the socio-emotional development for many children. It keeps their world small and does not give them enough chances to take the safe, controlled risks such as making new friends, learning new subjects, taking a public school bus to school, which grows their independence, their executive functioning skills, such as planning, time management, that will give them the confidence they need to navigate the academic and social rigors of high school. I know my 7th grader has lost since coming to middle school and has been so grateful to have the opportunity to learn things she never thought she would, such as concert choral and strategy and music and math. And so I think it would be a disservice to not give these families choice to choose the school that's right for them. So I know the Board of Trustees is faced with a very difficult decision. I do implore the board to look at balanced solutions that meet educational and developmental needs for the majority of students in this district. Thank you so much, and please don't take the choice away.
Hello, Superintendent Laura and Board of Trustees. First off, I want to thank you for doing this additional town hall tonight. My name is Jim Estella. I'm a proud parent of a 5th grader and 1st grader at River Shores Elementary School. So as a family who will be entering middle school students next year from River Shores, one from that perspective tonight. We lived in River Shores for 15 years, attending Ralston Middle School. This wonderful comprehensive school is one of the main reasons we decided to plant down roots here and start a family. We got involved in BRSSP as best we could. Served on the school site council for many years. My wife helps run the book fair and is a double room parent, and we've been active donors to school force. All that time, we've watched so many of our neighbors have sent their kids here to Ralston. We've heard their stories, fantastic experiences from both the parents and their students. And our 5th grader has sponged in these stories in the driveway around the neighborhood. And over the past 6 months, has already planning her journey to Ralston. She's eager to play flute in the bigger Ralston band as her full elective next year. Is even excited about taking the bus with her friends and next door neighbors. We've been told by the district for 10+ years that middle school choice will continue to be an option for River Shores families. As now seen on the slides about forced enrollment to Sandpiper or Nesbitt, it's taught us, and more importantly, our daughter off guard. I ask you to please remember this 5th grade class. This is the class that had to do with kindergarten on Zoom. They had to wear masks and social distance in 1st grade. And at River Shores specifically, after 2nd grade, they lost their principal. Then again, after 3rd grade, their elementary school journey is surrounded by. And this middle school choice was supposed to be their one chance to have a predictable future for their education. Potentially take away that choice. To not be able to attend Ralston, the school they've been looking forward to for years, just weeks before registration, would be devastating, and my daughter would be crushed. My wife and I have watched both the Sandpiper and Nesbitt Town Hall events over the past few weeks. We've seen the many passionate community members and staff advocate for keeping their respective middle schools open. We're friends with some of those families, and I respect their choice to attend Sandpiper or Nesbitt. But please do not have their choice to attend Sandpiper or Nesbitt take away the choice for other families like ours to attend Ralston, be denied the benefits of some unique electives that are offered here, like full-time music. So this year, for this 5th grade class, please do not take a choice on behalf of nearby neighbors from River Shores Elementary. Yes, please do not take a choice. They deserve the same opportunity as every BRSSP student to attend the school of their choice.
Hi, my name is Alexa Patel. I am a former Nesbitt student. I was the first graduating class of the Nesbitt Elementary School. I do not have anything to compare today, as I am also a Sterling resident. I've lived there my whole life. I did not know that this was happening between the middle schools. I am a young business owner. I had just opened up a salon as I've been working all day. I found this out from former family friend. This was going on. It absolutely just devastated me, and I just had this feeling that I had to be here today to speak with you all.
Not just to share just my experience, but just how much of a home that Nesbit and a K-8 school is in general, to me and others. In middle school or in elementary school, I found out that I was really dyslexic. I found out that I was dyslexic at a very awkward time when people didn't know what it was, how to help you, how we can, get you through your reading and writing lessons, even though you're 2-3 grades behind, right? I had some teachers that asked me and my family, what can we do for you? How can we help you? I had teachers that stayed after hours, that paid extra to learn their own curriculums, to teach me how being dyslexic is okay, how I could work with it, how to work through it in middle school and high school. For me, Ralston, I always thought I wanted to go there. I thought it was gonna be the perfect place for me, but once I kind of found out how academic worked and how reading and writing classes worked, I just couldn't find the right place that made me feel comfortable. I didn't have that one-on-one time like I did at Nesbit. I had teachers who could sit there after school with me through all of my experiences, the ups and downs. I really wouldn't be where I am today, opening up my own business. I have teachers that come and support me that don't miss birthday parties and graduations and, other things. We recently had a Nesbit student who passed away a couple years ago. And one thing I really wanted to share with you guys was that not only did it turn everything upside down, but the first people that I called were my Nesbit teachers. I talked to them. We actually met in my living room after that, just to kind of talk about the whole experience and what happened. We can go back through memories and what shaped us to be who we are today. And if I didn't go to Nesbit school, I don't know what I would do or how I'd be able to cope with my learning disability. Also, lastly, before time's up, I am a Sterling Down president. Like I said, I just find it a little concerning that nor me or my old students were not informed about this decision that's going to be happening. Again, K-8 schools are great, and both of them, I wish they could both stay open. I know that's just not an option, but I just did want to share my opinion and my experience. So thank you guys so much for listening to all of us today. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to come talk to you. I am a secretary at Nesbit. We moved to California 12 years ago, but we decided to purchase the house. We purchased it in Belmont for a reason. Really thought about the excellence of the schools, and I really enjoyed watching my son grow and turn into the person that he is, and knowing that I would have the choice of middle school to fit what he needs, to fit him in his own person, to help him excel academically. And I just want to encourage you to really think about that choice that parents have been planning on since joining the RSST, choosing to buy houses here, and thinking about how best to serve their children and set them up for life. I know this is not an easy choice. I don't envy you, and I know that nobody's going to be easy. Some people are going to be mad at what happens, and so it's going to be a hard choice. Please don't take our first thing. Thank you. Teresa Patel, Benes, and Hillary Nassar.
That was my oldest, I see that was just up here talking about her experience, like a little flustered, it's kind of I don't know, it's different watching your adult child up here talk about that. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. I'm speaking about our personal experience going through Nesbit K-8, specifically the middle school. We have a ton of Puma pride so many years later, because Nesbit is not just a school, it's a community. For many years, Nesbit's been labeled as different, and I'm here to tell you it is different, very different. It's beautifully different, and it's so different that you actually don't even know until you come there, you've experienced it, or you have a child like my daughter who go through it with all the help, love, and support and guidance from his teachers. As Lexi stated, she was the first class to go to the Nesbit. She is severely dyslexic, but she is also incredibly intelligent. And the teachers at Nesbit fostered that intelligence side of it. They never let her disability become who she is. They let her learn about her disability while they learned with her. When she was going through Nesbit, dyslexia wasn't necessarily something that teachers were excited to learn about. It was extra for them. It was something that they had an additional learn. There's a teacher sitting in here today that when we were in her IEP, he said, how can I help her? How can I help you? What can I do? How can I learn? As I learn from her every day. Knowing that a teacher was willing to take the time to learn how she would learn best is something that sticks with me forever. Our other daughter, she's 20. She went on to SDSU, she got accepted to Cal Poly Slow. I didn't go to college, I didn't know the college process. Nesbit teacher took that on with her to sit down and go through the process of college applications. She is now studying for interior architecture, getting her real estate license, minor in sustainability, and her interior design certification as well. Lexi is a small business owner, one of the youngest in San Carlos. She owns a salon with 4 stylists. And I have to tell you that both my girls will forever say that they believe where they are because of the teachers and the mentorship that they received from Nesbit. Nesbit middle school teachers don't just show up to teach, they show up to wisdom, to support, to encourage, and to teach. What they give goes far beyond academics, and it comes from knowing their students, understanding their community, and genuinely wanting every child to succeed. My family owes a great deal of our children's success to these teachers, and we're forever grateful. Nesbit changes trajectories. I've watched it, not just for my children. I was also PTA president at Nesbit, and I watched for many others. Nesbit isn't just a school, it's where students learn who they are and who they can become. Thank you.
My name is Vanessa, and I'm a 5th grader at Redwood Shores Elementary School. And all my friends and I are excited to go to Boston for middle school. We're excited for the big middle school experience and all the elective they offer. Whether lots of our friends or middle school independence and for all the academic experience that will improve as fellow after high school. You're expecting that our choice or efforts will be sent to us soon, so we can make a decision that will be our number one choice. With the experience, you might, but we all might not get our number one choice Boston. This is because we have to fill other those schools, Sandpiper and Lisbon. Why do we get the ability of those schools? Why do we make it to and my children away? And I'm prepared. So driving go out so they say the children mountain. Why do you honor your parents? Why do people have to know to have no sleep in to be similar to schools? Do not take our children out to the world spin. Do not take our children to the world. Do not send him or husband to keep the schools full.
My name's Hillary, and I have 2 children. One who attended Sandpiper, junior through 5th, and then junior for Ralston for middle school, and is now at high school in Belmont. My second is a 3rd grader at Sandpiper. First off, I'd like to say I definitely support the small middle schools. I think that clearly the community has shown up, and it's a great choice for some families. But for my family, Ralston was a great choice, and I was really disappointed to hear the idea of keeping Sandpiper Middle School open would be forcing all the Sandpiper elementary students to go to Sandpiper Middle School. We chose Ralston because of some of the opportunities that are really only possible at a large middle school, and I want to share those with you.
My oldest daughter started violin at Sandpiper. She took the once a week group lessons, and to be honest, she was quite terrible at the end of 5th grade. At Ralston, she joined, had the opportunity to join the large orchestra, and there she found a wonderful community of friends. And she discovered how much she really truly loved performing as a group. Her growth and skills was absolutely incredible, taking classes every day. She gained confidence and like her bravery during her performances. Her journey with orchestra is now continues at Cromwell. Yep. And she is loving it. Even this past weekend, she performed a duet at the recital, and I could hardly believe how beautiful it sounded. And the joy in her performance was just incredible to see. And I do believe that this was enabled by the Ralston Music Program. She also found running at Ralston, joining the cross-country and track teams and being part of what was really a competitive school program built her confidence. She made a great group of friends that she trains with now every day at Belmont, and she would tell you is one of the highlights of school for her. These experiences were, in addition to some of the academic and social benefits of attending Ralston, she got 2 years of Spanish. She really participated in the flexible math track, moving between 6th and 7th grade, which was great. And she really loved the giant school dances. And I will even say I love Sam Trans Bus. Some people have mentioned that. I actually really value the fact that she knows how to get on the public transit and get places by herself. So she really loved Ralston. She expanded her community, making new friends, and she transitioned very easily to Cromwell to the large school. I think Ralston has always been the primary assigned middle school here for all 6th graders since we joined the district 10 years ago. And please do not take that choice away, especially when the enrollment numbers do show, to be honest, that most Sandpiper families do want to choose Ralston for their child. Thank you very much.
Lord. Then Marvin.
Hello, I'm Tina from Redwood First Elementary School. I am here to talk about closing schools. First of all, closing schools is bad, making students feel lost and sad. It causes people to ride the bus. Though some people think it no bus, it could cause problems to people like us, making us ride in 2 hours and wait the sun just rose. So why on earth must those schools close? You say the schools should be closed because of lower enrollment. All it does is make us teachers have the time limit to all the students and their individual needs. Also gives more room to play. How are the dogs affected, you ask? Well, all the buses will hook up track, making you arrive fast. Also, how would you feel if there's no school to walk your children to? How would you feel if that happened to you? Now let's look at the causes to enrollment that is low. Oh, it's the students that choose the students to Ralston Middle School. It's like trusting an 11-year-old with Elon Musk's credit card. No, he. What is another reason for low enrollment, you wonder? Well, it is because of the field to Ralston that makes them ponder. I did not do any field trips to Ralston at all. And that is why I came here to say, don't let those schools not any day. Hi, I am Lou. I came here to inform you that public schools is not a good solution for the problem. But I thought the life of the problem of public schools and further people to go to school. Or if you are on the lower grade. Also, I would like to give a reason. In Sandpiper, they have a subject called wrestling, where you set your mind to a goal in wrestling. My oldest brother is art master and is writing a published book series of The Legend of Laurel, Attack of the Demon of the Six, self-published from him. I don't know much about it, but I do know that some people say it's small. Small is a good thing because it helps teachers understand students that are less students. Next, I would like to say schedule 5 minutes to Sandpiper, then most. It's a word you Sandpiper. A pretty 9-minute walk from my mother to a nearby school. Late, no ones. 9-minute walk home. Late, also no ones. Well, 5-minute walk to ones. An hour ones. Late, big ones. 10-minute late. By the way, 2 miles of the other ones. I doubt that's helpful. Also, did you know that all the ones miles in front? So if you miss the last word, it's over. Don't, it might be very bad. Yeah, I can make it simple. Closing schools is the wrong thing to do. It will make many teachers and families lose their life, causing the district to get into this goal. This would also make less fun events and concerts when less people would join them. When I was younger, I wanted to go to Boston because of my comfort. They were probably going to be Stanford before, or as some say, Boston has better education. Why should we let children like myself choose where to go? Technically speaking, no one should make this decision. In conclusion, I would like to say, closing schools is not the right choice. Here are some suggestions for raising funds, attractive college, temporary hardware where students or staff or volunteers spray your website. Non-regulations, however, like them, a mini market could be led by students, or even elementary structures. I'm sure that would get a lot of customers. If you have not noticed, the food carriers that references or events will take up those to Boston. So it's not surprise everyone likes Boston. All in all, closing schools was the wrong decision. From the very pure opinions of both facts, I hope I've expressed that there are so many much easier and clever ways to put this project. Sandpiper knows that have lived in Chicago just like Boston. Also, so many people actually want to go to Sandpiper and Nesbitt. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I hope you make a good choice. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leila Osterwettersen. I want to start by thanking the board members for engaging with me and other parents. Fortunately, since we are not in a financial crisis and we are budgeted to close our deficit with any of the 4 options we choose, I am hopeful we can take the time to work together and do what's best for our children and schools. According to the alignment survey, slide 38, while 59% are confident that their school preference will not change, 41% of respondents could be swayed in their school preference. Together with other parents, we've sent over to the board a list of enrollment and outreach ideas so that we can drive more voluntary enrollment at our smaller middle schools. The superintendent said that if we close one of the small schools, the displaced families will likely get their next first choice for middle school. Now here's my concern. If we do not do anything different from what's happening today, then those families will likely choose Ralston as their alternative, while people who preferred Ralston will have to go to the remaining small middle school in order to fill spaces there. We can make Ralston accommodate more students, but Mr. DeGuara himself has stated the following in our last September board meeting, quote, is a middle school or any school of 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 the optimal size? No, I probably would say no. Schools that are smaller are probably more optimal. So we will make Ralston less optimal by making it bigger, and families who would not have chosen Ralston otherwise will be choosing it, while those who wanted to go to Ralston will end up going to the small middle school. There is evidence that school closures cause student harm. According to Education Week, quote, students who attend a school that closes during their K-12 career have lower test scores along with worse attendance and behavior in the short term. In the long term, they're less likely than their peers to complete college and have a job, and their earnings tend to be lower. Furthermore, the guidelines of the California Office of the Attorney General regarding school closures and best practices state the following, quote, if there is excess capacity at one school and a nearby school is over-enrolled, the district should rely on collaborative problem solving with the community to identify the causes of this disparity and craft a solution that, as much as possible, avoids closing the under-enrolled school. Also, studies show, this is a quote, that deep community engagement pays dividends beyond school closures. Increased parent and student engagement leads to better academic achievement and attendance, which in California leads to more funding and decreased likelihood of further closures. These guidelines recommend forming a district advisory committee, including teachers, administrators, and parents. I hope the board will do so and follow these best practices so that all of our children and all of our schools will thrive. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Martha, and I'm 59 as mother of two students at Sandpiper, second grade and Beachwood. 5 years ago, my family arrived in the United States. My children barely spoke English, and we were navigating an entire world. Sandpiper welcomed us with open arms and helped them thrive during one of the most challenging transitions in their lives. 2 years ago, when choosing a middle school for my oldest, Ralston was the default option. Few families considered staying at Sandpiper, and that's part of us. Many didn't know much about what Sandpiper program was about. We heard that there was no advancement to elective community sports. Meanwhile, we were concerned about Ralston's massive size and the 2-hour daily commute for the program. The middle school information session was somewhat helpful to us, but it left crucial gaps in understanding the real Sandpiper experience program. This communication gap should exist. We chose to stay for the design thinking approach and the personalized learning method, despite most of his friends leaving for us. 2 years later, the decision has proven to be one of the best we've ever made. My son is thriving academically, following advancement, and exploring electives that have sparked genuine passions in him. In culinary arts, he discovered love for cooking, creating a world-using cookbook for a West project, and even making tests for his entire class on the last day of school. Beyond academics, he has flourished socially and emotionally. He's built meaningful relationships not only across his classmates, but also with sixth and eighth grade. He has found purpose helping younger students at events like Halloween Carnival and playing on all seasons for football and basketball teams. The close-knit community of Sandpiper has given him exactly the emotional support that he needed. He's gaining independence, fighting to school, and spending his free time with neighborhood friends. Now, my youngest daughter faces the same decision, with a difference. She doesn't hesitate. She has seen her brother thrive and wants the same experience for her. But this choice could be taken away from her if Sandpiper closes next year. This isn't just about our family. It's about ensuring other families can choose what right for their children. Sandpiper's proud as well as Nesbitt's are valuable, especially for the kids in their neighborhoods. But the lack of information about them is making most of the kids want to stay with the default option. The issue isn't quality, it's inequality of information. Ralston has a default appeal. Smaller schools like Sandpiper and Nesbitt need equitable opportunities to communicate their unique strengths and reach critical mass. I understand that the board faces difficult budget decisions, but closing a school cannot be undone and will have long-lasting effects in the communities. I urge you to give all our middle schools over and invest in outreach programs that give families the information they need. This will help both small schools reach critical scale. Our community deserves educational choice, not just educational. Thank you so much for your attention.
And so we'll have Daniel Epstein, Tanya Walter, Ivan, and Dave Moss.
Evening, members of the board, superintendent and staff. I'm Daniel Westside, I'm a Belmont resident and parent of Nesbit sixth grader. He's home preparing for the Nesbit Business Fair, and in all honesty, I'm not trying to be there with him, but just, but I think it's important to speak. My son and I spoke at the January 8th meeting at Nesbit about the importance of Nesbit talk. Since then, I've watched the subsequent meetings, reviewed the materials posted online. Tonight, I'd like to step back from the personal side and the importance to my family and focus on the district's overall approach. There are several questions that from the community's perspective remain unanswered. First is the question of timing. Why does this have to be done now in such a short time? Tonight, Superintendent DeGuara said it was necessary to act on a short timeline, but didn't say why. At the second meeting on this topic, the superintendent explained that moving quickly could reduce disruption. From our family's perspective and that of other students and families at Nesbit and Sandpiper, closing their current middle school would be highly disruptive, as well as for staff. Even if the board believes a near-term decision is necessary, phased implementation would help reduce that disruption. A longer timeline would also give families of younger students more time to thoughtfully consider their options, including for those who might be best suited to consider independent schools, the deadlines for which have already passed. Another area where additional clarity would be helpful is the financial rationale. In meetings and written materials, savings of approximately $300,000 to $400,000 have been cited. At the same time, Superintendent DeGuara indicated in the Redwood City Pulse interview, this is not primarily a budget-driven issue, and that the district has other plans to address the shortfall. Clarifying how these statements fit together would help the community better understand the underlying drivers, proposal, and the decisions to be made. If the district is seeing a long-term decline in enrollment, that suggests a need for long-term engagement. In 2017, and long-term planning, in 2017, BRSSD was the fastest growing district in the county, approved the Sandpiper expansion, and anticipated such growth that we considered converting Barrett to a school. If those projections have changed so much, has the methodology changed? They were off by so much then. Why should we have faith in them now? These are big decisions, and they shouldn't be made ephemerally, and we shouldn't be reconsidering them again in years. Finally, I want to acknowledge the importance of our teachers and staff. Families would appreciate understanding how the district is engaging with teacher representatives and how staff will be supported through any transition, including credentialing requirements and associated costs. Parents, students, and staff from all three middle programs and taxpayers across Belmont and Redwood Shores share a common interest in thoughtful, well-planned decisions. I respectfully ask the board to preserve Nesbit and Sandpiper Middle until such time as we can do this thoughtfully and with meaningful community engagement. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, and thank you for your time tonight. My name is Koyani Roper, and I'm the parent of twin 8th grade daughters at Sandpiper Middle School and a senior son at Belmont High School. My family moved here from Switzerland in 2023, specifically because of the strength of this school district. And I'm here tonight to speak about the equity among our middle schools. Our first choice middle school was actually Ralston. We were drawn to its academic reputation, language offerings, strong music and athletic programs. However, because there was no space available, we actually did not get our choice. And as new residents, we had to choose between Sandpiper and Nesbit. We chose Sandpiper for its academic focus, design thinking approach, and the fact that as residents of Redwood Shores, our daughters could walk or bike to school. I want to be very clear. Sandpiper has become a wonderful school for our family. It offers a warm, supportive community where teachers truly know their students. The small school environment has provided tremendous social and emotional benefits during these important middle school years. Academically, our daughters are thriving, and I feel confident they are well prepared for high school. However, I do have concerns about equity across our middle schools. Sandpiper does not have the same access to music and world language programs as other sites. This is the first year our daughters, as eighth graders, have been offered a foreign language, and it is only available as self-study option before school. For math acceleration, my daughters are bridging geometry outside the district through Silicon Valley High School, while students at Ralston can take this during the school day. Athletic options are also more limited. In sixth grade, I took time off from work and drove my daughter to Ralston daily so she could participate in track and field. Despite being the fastest sprinter in her class, she chose not to continue in seventh grade as this proved to be too difficult for our family over time. These differences matter. When families choose schools, they are choosing opportunities. If some schools consistently offer more in-school academic pathways and enrichment, it naturally drives demand for those campuses. You have heard from many Redwood Shores residents who are choosing Ralston. I would ask you why they are choosing Ralston. Before closing a school, I urge the district whether enrollment patterns are truly about preference or about unequal access to programs and resources. I strongly support keeping all three middle schools open and investing in them actively. If we want balanced enrollment, every school must offer strong academic pathways and enrichment and electives, so families feel they are choosing between great options. Our middle schools are more than buildings. They are communities that shape our children's futures. Sandpiper has been an amazing place for my daughters, and I have no regret about our 3 years here. They are very well prepared for their future at Belmont. And I hope it can continue to be a home for many more students for years to come. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ivan. I'm a mental health therapist for the school district, Belmont-Redwood. This is my 13th year in the school district, and I've worked at every site across the district, so I'm very familiar with the fabric and culture that each school. I should start this by saying, what I'm about to say is based on the assumption that we must close one of the schools. So if you do have to go that route, please take it all into consideration. Preparing for this, I watched both of the town halls that stood in Sandpiper, and the concerns from both schools are basically the same. Small schools are acting more conducive to learning, for the community, and their teacher, classmate, that sort of thing, as well as convenience of being able to walk to school or inconvenience because of traffic come up here. So if we look at it from that perspective, it's basically a toss-up. Which school should close? Might as well just go to compliance, right? That's the fairest way to make that decision. But that being said, we need to look a little bit further at which school will really be more impacted by the closure of the school. And I think, by far, Nesbit would be much more impacted if it was closed. Just to look at some stats, 38% of the students at Nesbit are considered socioeconomically disadvantaged, compared to 9% across the district. So 38% of Nesbit compared to 9% everywhere else. And we have over 40% of English language learners at Nesbit. Just an example of this, this is a generalization, not true for everywhere, but I've had a similar experience year after year. When we return from winter break or just break, and chickens, island break was, island break. Most kids at every school site has it will tell me about their trips to Disneyland or their cabin Tahoe, things like that. And then I go to Nesbit and I ask the same question. And so, we went to my cousin's house in Redwood City to go visit. Or we drove to San Francisco and got out of the car a little bit, got back to the car and went home. So it's just amazing that all these schools are in the same district, but kids that Nesbit are living a very different reality than the rest of the kids, or some kids, I should say, and Nesbit are living a different reality than the rest of the kids in the district. And we had a lot of kids worried about ice and parents, family members getting reported. The financial struggle is very real. We have families living in one bedroom apartments, or the parents sharing live with Israel in the bedroom or vice versa. I grew up in San Francisco, and I grew up, we did a lot of boys and girls clubs, different youth centers and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, we don't have that in Belmont. But as it is basically become the community center for that community. And every event that they have is just really special, and the entire community always shows up. And including, students, they all come. It's just like a family reunion. It's really special. And again, just going back to the population that they serve, it's very important to have with similar experiences, go with the same thing that they can identify with, and just build that sense of community. And also having resources, they lack the resources that also the other schools in the district have. Again, making that really families and so I think it could really be detrimental to the families as it did for the workflow. So I just wanted to share that, give you my experience in the district.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dean Thomas. I live in Belmont. I have a first grader, fifth grader at Central Elementary. I, like several of us, the fifth graders at Central, learned just like this afternoon that there is a proposal on the table that could possibly take our choice for our fifth graders who voice a preference to go to Ralston next year and possibly force them into one of the smaller schools. So here we are. I'm not here to speak for anyone other than myself and my wife and my two kids, and we have a strong preference for them to go to Ralston. Several other speakers who have defended choice in the district for us of which school we want to go to, when we go to Ralston, have very articulately summed up my thoughts as to why, in particular, the teacher from Carl, the speaker, I thought just summed that up beautifully, so I won't repeat any of those. I just want to say that I value that choice for my kids and just ask you to consider this as you make this very difficult decision. Thank you very much for your service in the district. I sincerely appreciate it.
Okay, we can have Swallow Food, Stacy Townsend, Dr. Bloom, and Ajay.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Antoine Wood. Nearly 20 years ago, my wife and I chose to make Belmont home, plan to have our kids to Central Ralston, Belmont. And today, I have eighth grader at Ralston, and the younger one is a fifth grader at Central, eagerly anticipating Ralston. Brother, the proposal that we heard today about artificially increasing enrollment in Nesbitt and Sandpiper, by forcing kids who would have chosen to go to Ralston to one of these other schools with different focus, doesn't seem like a fair approach. While all three have strengths, it's obvious that Ralston, the comprehensive middle school, is a very, very different student experience. Families should be able to choose the school that works the best for their children and family, like we do today. And if there isn't really sufficient enrollment to support some of the schools, then it's an indication to the community that perhaps with the student experience is as supportive. And for those children who would not have chosen follow that kind of student experience to enroll in these schools, that's like a logical problem. The choice of middle school is important, and every family takes it seriously. So all we ask is that we try to respect our ability to make a choice for what's best for our kids.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Stacy Townsend. I'm a parent of two kids at Rubber Shores Elementary. I actually grew up in Rubber Shores and went to Ralston myself.
So my family actually relocated back to Rochester so that they could go to Ralston. And she's only in first grade, but she's already there at Sandpiper. Camps here, very much looking forward to it. I would just like to reiterate previous pleas that the board preserves functions of Rochester services, especially this to the program really strong in the school in Boston. I think we're really fortunate in our school district that we have choice for middle school programs. Families can choose the appropriate school for their child and for their situation. And with that, I was able, my family has chosen Boston and there's just so much change reflected in many of the responses to the survey. But I think everyone wants a robust, dry, and communicating comprehensive middle schools. Academically rigorous and for opportunities to explore and thrive. And I think under resource schools are not just for everybody and an opportunity for everybody. So I would ask them for the board to make the difficult but necessary choice to close at least one of the school or one of the school in this so that we can serve the comprehensive middle school option for all of them.
Okay. Tonight, I wanted to give an update on some of the amazing energy and ideas that have come from a group of 50+ families who believe that with effective outreach and enrollment efforts with support from parents, students, and teachers, more families would choose to enroll at Sandpiper and Nesbit. And enrollments increase without sacrificing the #1 priority for a lot of speakers tonight, which is choice. This is not an exhaustive list, but I thought I would give my top 10 personal favorites of ideas that have come up that have no additional cost to the district. The first 3 are, I think of them as district-wide initiatives, to create more equitable distribution of opportunities for our kids. The first category is sports, so creating more district-wide athletic teams that are open to all middle schools is something that really matters to a kids and parents. And giving those opportunities to all kids across the district. The second one is music. We've heard lots of stories about kids who want to participate in a larger middle school orchestra. Having that opportunity would be critical for many. The third one is thinking beyond the boundaries of this district to inter-district transfers. If enrollment district-wide is such an issue, have we considered offering enrollment opportunities to children outside of Belmont-Redwood shores? The next group of items I wanted to highlight were ones that are really about the education and outreach about Sandpiper and Nesbit. It's one thing to have a strategy around school choice. It's another to properly execute against that vision. And right now, I think there are many areas for potential improvement. Improving outreach timing. Right now, most of the activities happen once the school survey is even sent. But obviously that could come much earlier. Engaging with counselors, giving guidance to fifth graders or even earlier to families on what might be the best fit for them. School assembly presentations with not just our parents, but the students at Sandpiper, at Redwood Shores Elementary and Sandpiper specifically would be helpful. In some of the Belmont schools as well. Right now we have class group trips to, as we heard, to Ralston. Find out to Sandpiper and Internet if we're really interested in driving enrollment there. Panel presentations. You have, if anything, a highly engaged parent group right now, and tap into that energy to have them have their voices heard about the amazing experience they've had. Last 2, there is a shuttle, my understanding, from Belmont to Redwood Shores that is available to everyone. I just found out about this 5 minutes ago. But I don't think this is publicized at all, that there are opportunities for people who live in Belmont to attend Redwood Shores schools. And last one, the publication of these efforts. There are flyers circulating now about Ralston Middle School important dates to Redwood Shores Elementary School children. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but why is that the only school that's being publicized as their option? in essence, supporting free middle schools, strategic choice and values our kids' education and our choices as parents. But there needs to be a corresponding execution to that vision. And that's what we haven't seen from the issue so far, but together with the energy of the parents, I think we can get there. Thank you.
Hello, Superintendent and Board of Trustees. My name is Ajit Deshpande and I live in Redwood Shores. We are proud parents of two boys, Rishi Deshpande, who currently is a sophomore at Belmont. He went to Sandpiper Middle School, and Ayush, who is currently at Ralston in 6th grade. He also went to Sandpiper Elementary. I'm here today to strongly support both the continuation of Sandpiper Middle School and also the preservation of choice between the comprehensive school, Ralston, and a small school was going out with that Sandpiper. Our older son Rishi graduated from Sandpiper Middle in 2024. And like I said, he's currently a sophomore at Belmont High School. He also went to Sandpiper Elementary. Rishi is an introvert. He has always had a close-knit group of friends. He really loved the environment of being both proximity to his school, being able to walk there, as well as having friends also from the community. The small school environment at Sandpiper was ideal for him. As a result of being at Sandpiper, he developed love for basketball. He was able to make it onto the Sandpiper school middle school team, and to this day, the group of friends he made while playing basketball at Sandpiper continue to be the group of friends he spent most of his time with at Belmont as well. On the other hand, our younger one, Ayush, he is extremely interested in exploration. He doesn't really have any clear passions at this point, but he loves the languages. He loves exploring creative elements, and as a result of his preferences, we thought Ralston was the right school for him. And he's having a fun time now at Ralston, exploring, not just excelling in academics, but also exploring things like wellness, strategies, and strategy and so on. As far as our experience is concerned, we think Sandpiper Middle is extremely important for our community, just for students like Rishi and some of his friends. I will also say that on the other hand, Ralston as an option continues to help us make the right choice based on the preferences of our children. So between these two schools, we are really thankful that we currently have a choice. So we would love to suggest and recommend that every student get their choice. At the same time, we feel that having a close school that is very close to the community also matters a lot. So that's my recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, we have Safari, Rashawn, Forrest Armstrong, and Shalene Namazi.
Wonderful. Thanks everyone for making time at this extra meeting to hear all these voices. So my name is Sridhar Gurpal. I'm a local Belmont speaker about a mile away. I have a daughter who finished up Ralston last year and a son in Fox, who's a 4th grader right now. So most likely headed to Ralston in the near future. I think what I was speaking, we've heard a lot of passion voices for choice. I think that's pretty important for a number of reasons. We were lucky enough that for high school, for instance, our daughter, we had the choice to have a really DTech versus online. She ended up going to DTech after having a great experience at Ralston. But for her, that was a better option in terms of many of the reasons that people are saying that they want Sandpiper and Nesbitt. Small school environment, different programs, different focus than the Belmont environment. And so I definitely appreciate the value for school choice and how that's beneficial to different kids. So I want to kind of acknowledge that, how important that is. That being said, I think that preserving Ralston and having that as an option for all the kids in the district and preserving, the current ability to enroll there is super valuable, not just from an academic standpoint, but the thing I want to speak to more than what all the other folks can speak to is from a logistics standpoint. I don't know if Doug remembers, but me and him had quite a few conversations this summer when my daughter was heading to middle school. She was assigned to Nesbit. And for this was when my son was going to be going to first grade. And for us, that was a non-starter. I'm in emergency position, my schedule's all over the place. And so oftentimes, it was just gonna be my wife who's gonna have to shuttle kids back and forth. So in order to get my daughter to Nesbit and my son back, it was an unworkable situation with waking up, at that time, a 6-year-old or 7-year-old at, 6:30 in the morning or something. Just so we could sit in the car for 40 minutes to go up and down Ralston to get my daughter in on time. The reason I bring this up is that I think that regardless of what choice is made, I would like to see a higher level of focus on the logistics of getting the kids to and from where they need to go. There is transportation down towards Redwood Shores. When we looked at that option for my daughter at that time, this was 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know if it's changed, to be honest, but at that time, you would have her arriving near Nesbit. It was like 7:20, 7:30, with something 45 minutes to kill, getting dropped off at a major highway off ramp with no crossing guard to cross Ralston, riding out ramp, and then hanging out, I guess, outside of the school as a 6th grader, unsupervised for 20 minutes till. So that was the option for the transportation, other than driving her, which again, as I mentioned, would involve waking up by 7 a little bit, 2 hours before school starts. The school that, by the way, would be the 2 blocks from there. So anyway, I would just say that, keep in mind feasible logistics for families, especially families that don't have the ability to have the children, which would better decision.
Good evening. It's been happening here, and I think, the kids and some of the other parents are covering most of what shared. My only question was, much of these decisions that are being made are data driven. Things are data driven. What I did hear is, in Alpha is, saw a statistic about 30% of kids working in the elementary school, for example, Sandpiper decided to move on to the middle school. But I did hear the why, and I was wondering if there was any additional surveys conducted or outreach to those families who decided not to go to Sandpiper for middle school. Been there, elementary school. I heard some reasons, but I think instead of focusing on closing the school, which I think should be the last resort, spending a little more time on trying to close the gaps in education and extracurricular activities, I think so maybe better. I didn't hear about anything that the school district has done enough. What efforts that they've made over time. Clearly, this is not something that happened overnight. And deciding to open middle school didn't happen overnight, and I'm sure that was a tough process to get the funding, probably building, speaking of Sandpiper specifically. And I don't know how long it's been, maybe 10 years. So seems like something went wrong between 10 years ago and now. And you can't chalk it all up with birthdays. That's just doesn't make any sense. So be a little more introspective and what the reasons are. And try to solve that problem. Very before to just shut things down in such short order. I think that's been huge news to the families who do want to stay and do want to stay as so I'm sure there's some about it.
Good evening, board members and trustees. Thank you, Superintendent, for your devoted work and recommendations, and thank you all on the board for your personal commitment to uphold the will of the public regarding such an important issue to our district as education. The options presented to the public about the future of our middle schools send shockwaves to many families. We see the demographic pressures driving the consideration to close one of the middle schools. Many disagree with this path and ask you to give both schools more time to see if demographic predictions materialize. However, if board decides to proceed with closing one of the schools, we believe the evidence clearly shows which school the community prefers to keep open. Our petition to preserve Sandpiper now has over 330 signatures and continues to grow daily. Your own survey data shows that among families preferring small schools, twice as many choose Sandpiper. State rankings show Sandpiper's excellent performance. Parents value Sandpiper's design thinking model and geographic accessibility. There is no traffic, and given the choice to Belmont families between St. Nesbitt and Sandpiper, they prefer Sandpiper. We understand that you all been here to serve the public and implement decisions to reflect our entire district opinions. Thank you again for that. We also recognize that most of you are residents of our district and may be personally affected by this decision. Your children and friends may attend one of these schools, creating an inherent conflict that is difficult to navigate no matter how dedicated you are to fairness. Given the evidence we have presented, we respectfully ask you to preserve Sandpiper Middle School. However, if there remains any uncertainty about our community preference, we request to put this question into a district-wide referendum of registered voters within the RSP boundaries. A referendum will ensure the decision reflects the true will of all district residents, not just those who can attend meetings, and will provide democratic legitimacy to the outcome, helping our community move forward together. I urge you to give both schools time to see if enrollment stabilizes. But if you determine closure is necessary and want to reassure the clear direction for the entire district that Sandpiper is the right school that will also give better future for Nesbitt families, then give the power to the people and decide via referendum. Thank you for listening and for service to our community.
I'm the mother of an 8th grader at Ralston Middle School and a 5th grader at Central Elementary. We were informed today that some Central Elementary school students may be told to attend Sandpiper or Nesbitt, removing their access to choice. I'm advocating for students to continue to have school choice and be able to attend the school that fits them best. My daughter has thrived in the larger comprehensive Ralston setting, having access to many electives and learning how to navigate the larger campus, and feels well prepared for a prom life. Her brother is hoping to attend Ralston as well and to be part of the sports and many electives that it offers. Although Ralston has been an excellent option for my daughter, some of her friends have thrived in the smaller middle school settings. I'm asking that we please preserve choice. Thank you.
Okay, you get that committee after the job. And that committee 7 off. Okay, so we're going to begin that committee. I am a parent and at the last meeting, I spoke to support the Sandpiper families and the community. Today, I'm going to have concerning parents. Like many families, I care deeply about having an ability to choose the middle school that fits their individual's needs. I want to now acknowledge how complex this process is and I appreciate the work of the board and the district is doing. My goal tonight is not to push for a specific outcome, but to better understand potential limits on school choice could affect us. Many children thrive in different school environments, while small school works for others. Larger middle schools offer important benefits for some. More programs, more opportunities, and a wider range of social and athletic experiences. For many families, that choice really matters. We're hoping for clarity around what limits
coach grade would look like, especially for children across the 101, the Sandpiper regular choice. Like, what does proximity will play a role in this? And how even priorities can be determined for our kids? My part of this conversation is to trust families. We know our children best, and preserving choice allows us to support them in the best way that they need and keep for their kids. My name is Ash Judd, and I'm parent of two RSSD students. One graduated nested last year and is in Boston in fifth grade this year. Another who's at Fox. I will admit off the bat, we are very privileged to live in the district at all, and we'd be grateful for all the opportunities our kids had at school. I also want to unequivocally state that while the staff and teachers were incredibly passionate and made a huge effort to welcome our son when he came in the middle of fifth grade, I must say, we have not at all been shortchanged at all. And our son has incredible connections with teachers across the board. The counselor has reached out directly to him. The principals, I can't say enough good things about the community of Boston, and I think that might sometimes be overlooked by people who feel that you can only get that close-knit connection at a small school. Had our son ended in Nesbitt or continued his career in middle school at Nesbitt, I have no doubt he would have connections as well. But that sentiment is pervasive throughout the RSSD. It's not just in my experience, at least in Belmont-Redwood, just how it's been across the board. So thank you to everybody you do. Thank you to the hiring practices. Thank you to all the thought that goes into the social emotional and the academic opportunities are enormous at Boston, as well as the athletic ones. We can't say enough good things about it as well. One thing that I guess I would love, and it's not a part of this debate here, but maybe something we can take into account is, did have the sense of awareness that it felt like a separate community, and I actually would love to see more of those types of families move into or be able to take transit, whether it's in elementary school or Ralston, to really become a more integrated community of Ralston and process. But I think some of those kids are unknowingly, their parents are unknowingly missing out on things that exist at Ralston. They've made the effort to move to our community. They're I feel terrible even speaking about another group. If they're making efforts to move to our community or our public schools, they're doing so because they trust in the schools. We want to give all of this as the best opportunity as they can have. So I don't want them to think that they could get less than if they were to come to us. Thank you so much for this. Incredible.
My name is Kathleen Sirloff. I'm a central parent, second grader and a rising sixth grader who's looking to go to Ralston. And I just wanted to add my voice with her as parents are supporting school choice. That's really, really important. And one thing that I do ask you to consider your decisions in this is that in deciding to keep two small schools open, we're effectively taking choice away from a whole lot of units. Moving to one small school still offers people a choice between the comprehensive version being a smaller one versus keeping free open. You're gonna force my families to choices that they're not conflict and make that choice. So I do ask you guys please take that into consideration. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is one of the things that has become very apparent as I talk about this issue is that people might be open to smaller elementary school, but not at the expense of the extracurriculars and social and the music and other opportunities that a public school district provides. And we did have 4 options up there today. Only 3 of them are being discussed. That 4th option of second comprehensive elementary stars starting middle school is one that I think really should be on the table. And yes, it can't be done before registration starts this year, but it is a very real possibility. And I think would actually solve a lot of the concerns that people have. You know, people do want their children to have those opportunities that are provided in the comprehensive elementary school, or sorry, middle school. And, you do want knowledge, right? But they do want them to have that. And even though some of these kids might thrive in a smaller environment, are willing to make that trade-off. And, you know, 1,000 kids in elementary school is big. It also means that you have to run a pretty tight ship to make things work. That's a lot of really crazy running around one spot. If we were to have two, it would be 600, which offers a lot more flexibility and offers the chance to look at things like maybe a smaller school within a school, where we could use the model that's worked so well at Sandpiper and at Nesbit within that larger school and have a smaller subgroup of students who have that sort of experience. That's not something you'd be able to do at Boston, just so big, but with two smaller groups, it is something that you. So I would urge the board not to be driven by the fact that, you know, registration for this year's kids starts in a month or so, but to actually look at what really makes sense for this district, and that might be to look at that third option that is not feasible to do this year. Thank you.
Okay, so our time will be Emily Floyd, Trish Watson, or Denver, and Jonathan Furrow.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. My name is Emily Adri. I am the PTA president at Central. I also have 4 daughters. I have one who's a 6th grader at Ralston. I have 2 5th graders who are coming into hopefully Ralston next year. And I have a 2nd grader who already wants to go to Ralston. So as you probably heard from some of the other parents, as a PTA president, I've been following this whole thing pretty closely, but I was not aware until recently of this new option, right? Of basically bringing more kids to Sandpiper and Nesbit. So I think that's where the little bit of start of this parents today. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Are you know, if you were to look at geography and say, oh, essentially you are close to Nesbit, you're going to start planning for your kids there. That's a real for us to think about. I think that's what you're seeing as mobilized here tonight. It's like, whoa, we've been following this, we've been supported, we've been trying to be educated, but this has now changed for us, right? This is a different conversation, and we're very motivated. So, you know, I think what I would say is I would echo a couple of things that have been said tonight. I would say first, my 6th graders have a phenomenal time in Boston. The teachers are amazing. I think some of her class sizes are smaller than what she had in elementary school, which is pretty amazing. She's bonded closely with her teachers. And I will say one thing is I've heard a lot of parents talking about how we need to advertise in other schools more. I don't disagree with that, but I will say she gave it a lot. Like they come in, they present, they talk about the different schools. Like it was an actual real conversation in our house. It wasn't like I'm just going to go to Ralston because it's bigger and has all the space. Like we looked at the like example schedules for school. Like we really considered it. We talked about the benefits of a smaller class to the big school. So I know everyone's been very pro-choice tonight. And I echo that, but I just want to say more this work, we did feel like we had a lot of information about programs, and with 4 girls, we were like really wanting to make a good decision, and so we did like the rest could kind of follow, you know, like on you. So I think I'm here to say obviously protect choice. My 5th graders, one of them is already planning for all of the sports teams she's trying out for next year. She actually wanted to be here to talk, and I didn't know kids could come, so I told her no. She's probably watching right now, very disappointed that she's not here. She's very passionate about this, so I just want to say thank you again. I know it's a tough decision. Nobody wants to close a school, but it seems like we have an opportunity here to have smaller school, people who want a smaller school, and a big school for people who want a bigger school, which is amazing. How lucky we have that, right? So thank you very much.
Again, my name is Fred Boston. I just want to address the word choice and how it's almost an illusion in this situation. There's a lot of fear mongering, I feel, around this word choice. If you look at the wait list for Ralston, there's 20 families not getting their choice. But if you close Sandpiper, there's over 100 families that won't get their choice. And we also moved to this neighborhood for this middle school program to TK through 8, we have children ranging in different ages. So I'd like to reiterate the fact that if there is a bigger effort to get the other smaller schools enrolled and maybe with more enrollment, they'll have the money to put in some of these programs. They won't be taking away money from Ralston, which is going around from parents. They will lose resources if they keep Sandpiper, but that is not true. And additionally, the system is broken and you really need to increase the equity and you really need to put in an effort to increase enrollment. You have an obligation, I feel, as it is code of ed code for the state to work with the community to try and boost enrollment. Will not take away resources. If anything, it will be easier for you to get into Ralston because if more families want to go to Nesbit and Sandpiper, there will be more openings at Ralston. I don't think shoving more kids up there is the thing to do. Please take mental health into consideration. The bigger the school, the less, one-to-one relationships happen. Our small schools, the principal knows who the parents are, they know who the kids are, they are on top of it. There's preventative measures, not just punitive measures to bullying and all the other things that happen in the larger schools. The teachers don't want this. The teachers in Sandpiper are so devastated by this. It's not just the parents. Please listen to them too. This is their job. They have been working, some of them did the entire, tenure of Sandpiper to get into what it is today. Please respect the fact that there are 3 different schools and 3 different locations that are 3 different populations. They're not equal. We want them to be, and we want everyone to have their choice. I have friends who want to go to Ralston. I want them to be able to go to Ralston. So the other thing, if you're going to shut it down, please be mindful. If you said it is not feasible to phase it out, but I think that you use the word ideal. Probably not ideal. It is feasible to phase it out. Another parent here said, please don't transfer our kids from 1 year to 2 years. Please phase it out. Last thing, the bus. If you're going to make us go to Nesbit, please get a specific bus because the Ralston bus will drop our kids off at a gas station about 30 minutes before they're allowed on campus. That's not okay. I can't drive my kid because I have smaller kids at TK that start at the same time. That doesn't work. So just be mindful of all these nuances. Please keep Nesbit, they serve our community. Please keep Ralston open for choice and please put in effort to increase the enrollment. And one last thing from a friend who is, we're texting through it. She says our taxes pay for the school. She wants her kids to go to Ralston, okay? Our taxes pay for the school bonds. They are public schools. No one knew about this, and our teachers were literally emailing parents to attend tonight. The public who funded forms were not aware. People moved to these neighborhood choices to have the choice. Neighborhood got the choice. We have never heard of an enrollment issue. Why rush to do this in 2026? We were where the district was well funded, none of it makes sense. Where is the outreach for the lack of enrollment?
Everybody, and the board, I was not planning on speaking today. I'm a mother of college freshman, graduated in Boston, 7th grade in Boston, and a 4th grader in medical shows in Manhattan. And we'll do the medical shows. Actually, think about this in my life. My children love Boston. It's an amazing school, and my 4th grader is dreaming about a chance to go to Boston. We heard a lot today about the fact that the clothing communities of Sandpiper need to be preserved, and a lot of parents love it. Unfortunately, no matter the choice you make here today or in the next 4 years, that small little community, that small school, that's gone, regardless. Because the option here on the table is not to keep Sandpiper on this day over the way it's now. The option is to will take kids, a very high number of children that don't want to live there, you're going to put them in that school. If I look at the numbers that we presented, right now, today's enrollment, we have 80 kids in sixth grade, Nesbitt and Sandpiper, 17 of them are on transfer class. They don't want to be there. If we take up to 72 more kids and move them into good schools, you're going to end up with half of Nesbitt and Sandpiper there in the West. The parents don't want them to be there, they don't want them to be there. They are there because they're supposed to be there. It is not going to be that closing community that's there right now. You're going to have parents who are upset, not involved, and feeling that their choice didn't matter. It is not going to be what it is today. As a very short parent, I feel especially impacted because of something that was said at the last meeting. Basically saying that if most schools were going to open, geography would be taken into consideration. Which means that my choice to buy at the shores will mean that my kid, thankfully on one youngest, will end up in one of the smaller schools, most likely somewhere. While his siblings got to benefit from Boston. That is not fair. When I bought in Iron Shores, I was told it is part of the Belmont-Redwood Shore School District. We are part of one district. And we get lost from full middle school that's available to everybody. The other two schools, alternatives, go there, that's what you choose. And that sounds like it's not the case. I'm a very good parent. Like, according to my high school, I need to enroll, and I know my children. I know their education, I know their needs. And unfortunately, even though my current middle schools, one of the smaller schools, like, it's been okay for my youngest and for my oldest, just graduated from Boston, a small middle school is not okay. They need that big school. My friend, when we heard about the possibility of my younger kid might end up going to Sandpiper because of geography, he actually said, Mom, Sandpiper is not choice. There are other schools that his friends are going to, private schools, and offered out his college fund, how to pay for that. Unfortunately, two of his friends had a negative experience in one of the small schools, and it wasn't about the lack of extracurricular activities or classes. It was about emotional well-being. You put a bunch of middle schoolers in a class of 30 or 60, and occasionally they don't get along with those kids. Or maybe they don't get along with the two teachers who are assigned to teach those classes. And then what? The kids hate going to school. In Boston, my kid had one teacher that he had one teacher he didn't like, maybe two. They love the rest of his teachers. He had a group he get along with, and he loved his other group. That choice matter for the extra some of our kids. And I really hope that you let the parents make the choice and respect the choice. And faculty doing it, knowing what it is for you now. This is not, you fully get it. Anyway.
Board members. My name is Jocelyn, and I have 3 children, the same member, and also the Shores community member. I spoke at the other 2 board meetings, so thank you again for time, and you're always done hearing from me. I too was not planning on speaking tonight, but what really hit me sitting here over and over again was that everyone in this room, we all want the exact same thing. We want the success of our children, whether that be in a big or a small middle school environment, and we all agree that both are extremely important. We just all want what is best for our kids. So I really don't like seeing our great BRSSD community pitted against one another in this conversation. You know, a lot of the people that are in this room, in the community, are great friends of all of us, and we want to be united. We're all not going to win in this situation if we're not united in this conversation. The district's not going to win in our problem. It's already been made pretty clear, and I will go over the details, that there's no imminent financial need to close a school. So why wouldn't we proceed with the status quo in short? That's really my biggest question. To me, it seems like the most logical and equitable choice for everyone. We just need that time to work together, I feel, to formulate a long-term decision that works for everyone. And as the speaker before me mentioned, you know, I think a lot of people are thinking there's only a couple of options, and if this happens, then remove my child's choice to go to this school or this school. I don't feel like there are 4 options. I feel like there can be a myriad of options, and we just need time to look at those options. So why wouldn't we take that time rather than making a rash decision and kind of moving forward on something that. I just want you to know you've got our attention. We have such an amazing, engaged, and passionate community behind you to support you in this. And I think we will let them do that. So please support option 1, keeping the choice that everyone's asking for in the short term, while we work on a solution that works for not Sandpiper, not Nesbitt, not Ralston, but the entire ERS. Thank you.
So we have 2 more speakers. Lima and Bruna.
Here are the Board of Trustees. My name is Jane, and I'm a PRS student, and the child home that attending Boston here, and they call on student that attended Boston. I appreciate the time that you are taking to be thoughtful and full decisions to address declining enrollment. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to share I would like to share my concerns, particularly regarding how 2 proposed options would impact all the students and students in the local district. Option 1 and 4 probably affects the entire district, even though the district has mentioned that there's no, this is not a fiscal reason to close any schools. But it does also a lot more to maintain lower enrollment emphasis. So in the long term, it can have an effect. And also the district is already operating in the deficit spending. So in the long run, we need to report contributions. And also this option could result in students being assigned to schools other than the main building, which may create additional stress for the family and disrupt school communities. As the enrollment declines further, this issue of pressure. So maintaining 2 small schools with low enrollment is not financially responsible, because the district does not have limited resources. And to force families to attend 2 small schools in order to boost enrollment is not providing all the families the same opportunity to choose, and that can also impact property values as well, as there's no guarantee that the families will be sending their students to the school. As a comprehensive school, Ralston is able to provide more programs and electives because of the scale and the bigger student population. So Ralston is highly ranked, 25 in terms of public middle school. And so the second year is doing a great job. And the students are thriving and well and to have the enrollment and to take away resource here is unfair to the students, the teachers and staff, and our families. And so option 4 of having 2 small size middle school also fundamentally changed what Boston as it exists today. It is hard to imagine you configuring middle schools into 2 equal-sized comprehensive schools without negatively impacting academic, electives, future, and all the teaching experiences that our students are currently in. Boston has built a strong education and a vibrant school culture, and this option would value what makes it successful. So additionally, more data point would be helpful in terms of helping us understand the full implications of each option. Well, for one, I think statistics on how many families actively choose to attend small middle schools, along with the per student funding level at each middle school, would be valuable in supporting thoughtful and equitable decision making. Thank you for your time, leadership, and consideration for parent perspective.
Hello, this is Samantha Rochester. I'm a mom of 3 girls and Sandpiper Middle School currently. And I'm just a little concerned right now about the timeline of your decision making. I know we have 2 meetings in January. At the last meeting, this was an additional meeting that was added on by the request of the board members. So there was no intent of having this 3rd meeting.
initially. And a decision was going to be made in February about what you're going to do with schools. I think you've heard from all the parents and how concerned they were. That's why this third meeting is taking place. I actually did not even realize when I came to this meeting that Central Elementary would also be impacted based on the decision that's going to be made so quickly. I'm not even sure if I understand clearly what would happen come September 2026 and what decisions as parents, what we will be facing again. Will we have two schools, if that's what you guys decide? Which two schools are they? Can we, do we have a choice again? We had tried for Ralston initially, we didn't get it. And we were at Sandpiper. Say you decide to close one of the smaller schools. Are we then going to be forced again to be on a wait list for the school of our choice? If we want Ralston again, do we again get put on a wait list? What happens to the Central kids who might also want Ralston, but now I have so many Sandpiper parents or Nesbitt parents wanting to go to Sandpiper once you open those doors? What does that look like? What are you going to do to accommodate this new enrollment of kids coming into Ralston? I'm not hearing what's going to happen to the student teacher ratio. Are you going to open up 3 more classes, 4 more classes? I'd like to get a better understanding of this before we make this decision. I'm not sure if the decision's going to be made in February, and then you will plan out what's going to happen. So I'm not seeing that in the documentation anywhere, and if there is, please let me know. I'm happy to read it again. But based on what I've seen so far, I'm just not sure if we have this urgency to make this decision next week in February, whenever your next meeting is, and have you communicated the clear guidelines as to what we are going to face, all the parents in this district are going to face come September. So that's all this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Again, I want to thank the very thoughtful reflection perspectives of the community. It was a wide range of them with various nuances. And thank you for taking the time tonight and share with a sensitive topic and one that is obviously very important to each and every one of us in different ways. Want to open this now to the board, but both for an opportunity to kind of continue out loud the discussion points, but as well as be able to ask district leadership of any questions that we might have in advance of this about February meeting where we will be for. So I will open this up.
First off, I just want to say again. Thank you to everybody who spoke tonight and all previous nights, and also those who have shared copious amounts of feedback. This is literally making us back feedback that I have read thoroughly, and I just want to recognize how deeply our community cares about our schools and the choices that our parents want for their children. Please know that all of this input, whether shared in comment or writing, really is being taken seriously and will be carried forward with us as we move into our discussion. I really want to emphasize that, like what you guys are saying here is matters. And we care, and you're all thinking and struggling. Dan, I really have a couple of questions for you. First of all, I know that these middle schools were built with significant community support and public investment. As you consider the possibility of consolidation, how is the district weighing both its responsibility for financial stewardship of that investment and the potential impact on our community trust and confidence in it.
I'll pass, the CEO wants to handle the financial, piece, I can go ahead and address the other piece.
On the financial piece, are you talking a little bit more about something with the history behind the bonds, is that correct?
Yeah, I know that there has been a lot of tension around how our schools are being funded and how we are just making sure that those schools were established in our community. And I just want to make sure that we as a district are being fiscally responsible with that investment that we have taxed our community.
Okay, so let me start with, again, all of the plans as to the projects that happen, right, are ultimately passed by the board of the district. Right, that being said, I think it's the purpose of the district, right, and the board at the time to make the best decisions that they can for the district, given the information that they currently have. Right. One thing I would bring up is, ultimately, Sandpiper was funded by the 2014 Measure I general obligation bond. And at that time, even though I was not here, it sounds like the board at that time made a decision, right, to build Sandpiper as possible. Unfortunately, in 2020, 2021, there was a pandemic, which we all have to go through, which affected our enrollment, not just here in Belmont, but also across all of the districts here in California, and has caused enrollments to decline, right? Again, I think it's based on the people who were here at that time to make the best decision that they could, and at that point, they believe those best. They can't necessarily anticipate what's going to happen. They can just make a decision based on the information that they have. For some additional history that I think is helpful to know, we did some research into what the last few general obligation bonds were. There was a $25 million general obligation bond in 2010, which helped expand Boston, fix some of the maintenance facilities here within the district. Also in 2010, there was a $35 million bond that helped to modernize Fox, Superintendent Central Nesbitt. Again, in 2014, there was also a bond that helped to modernize and bring on build the Sandpiper Middle School and also build a TK back as part of our technical. One of the most interesting parts of our history and our bond program goes all the way back to 2007, where the Revenue Shores company, SFID, chose to raise $25 million to build Revenue Shore buildings. Does that answer your question? Sorry, that's kind of a lot. Cool.
Yes and no. Thank you for the history lesson. I appreciate it.
Hi. Sorry. How can
I think I am concerned about those members of our community who worked so hard to build these schools, putting together a school, making, establishing, getting teachers, having a program, and communities like that takes a long time. And I am concerned that not just time, it takes time, and it takes money, it takes resources, it takes a lot from a lot of people. And I wonder if we were to say, okay, we've taken all this time and resources to build these two schools, and we're just going to get rid of one for whatever reason. I'm just pondering. So thank you. I'm sorry.
Otherwise, thank you for that. So first off, I'm going to reiterate, everyone loves their schools, and their teachers love their kiddos, and their kiddos love their teachers, and our teachers are doing amazing work across the state. So full stop there. I will say, when I look back just at my tenure, one of my drivers from the board prior to this board was look at enrollments, monitor enrollments, ensure we're hitting our enrollment numbers. It was about 3 years ago, we made the decision that actually invest more in Sandpiper and that's it, with design thinking and Sandpiper and the International Baccalaureate Program at NEST. With the idea that our schools, that were small schools, needed an identity that helped them thrive. And it's been 3 years since, and we have remained pretty consistently, if not reduced enrollment slightly over time. And so, like the piece that I look at specifically is how are our families transitioning into those programs. I think our resident and our Sandpiper families, who probably know their programs the best, they get the marketing probably every day. They're sitting in the middle school program here and there. They're making choices in different ways to attend the larger confidence school. They don't think that is a negative mark on the small school. I think our surveys have shown, heard from comments, that families do want a larger environment that does offer a little bit more, just due to size, due to the ability to have more people and be able to optimize the ways. I do want to mention the perception of being under-resourced. As in Sandpiper, from a dollar per dollar figure, Nesbitt and Sandpiper are not under-resourced. From a programmatic standpoint, yes, there are differences. The way that the program is set up is not able to benefit from size, from options, from prevention, and we tried to work to solve that. We tried expanding the music to force tried to work within. We added, I think you heard tonight, virtual options for music. Our principals have really tried to double down on sports. How do we do sports differently by combining and organizing? And again, we still find enrollment challenge. I think if I can hone in to garnering community support and continuing, is to have open conversation, have open dialogue, to always do our best to make our be transparent, to use data and input to guide our decisions. And I think we have a little bit of that in front of us.
So I would consider myself a pretty active therapist. I know students, I know teachers, I know the principals, I know a lot. And it wasn't until I came on this board that I really understood them. And I know you're saying that, for your Sandpiper Elementary School, you would know your program best as an administrator. I will honestly say I have no idea. I mean, I have the district overall shield that we saw on the Zoom, right? But I wonder if there's not some merit to the district advisory group. Would that be, I hate the idea of closing a school before we've done everything we can to preserve. And would something like a district advisory group really activate our parents and have them be cheerleaders for us? So because I know as a parent, I attend the programs that my friends attend, right? They say, hey, Shelley, you should go do the staff program, you should go do the staff class. Well, okay. And similarly, we don't have our parents at Sandpiper right now saying, hey, you should go do this, or even advising them. We have parents that go to their teachers, and the teachers are said, told to, or they go and have
which school should I go to? Which school is best for my child? You know my child best, Mr. or Mrs. Fifth grade teacher. And these teachers say, all great schools go and make a decision, right? Which is fair, but they should not be biasing students when we're talking about, wouldn't it be great if they could say, here is one parent who volunteered to talk with you about next victim. Here's another parent that's volunteered to talk about Sandpiper. Here's another parent that can talk to you about Ralston. And you can describe your child with them and they can help you guide you through that process. Because right now, a lot of parents, one of the parent speakers had mentioned that we have a population of about 40% of those who said, I'm going to make this decision. We have this population that says, I made a decision, but I'm not sure if that's the decision that I'm really confident with that. I'm not sure. Would those parents, could they be persuaded to be, I would want to love this next and not just go into that default option of Ralston is school choice. And I'm not saying one way is better or not at the moment. I just want us as a board to really think about that. Is that an opportunity to really engage our community? Because I think any opportunity for community engagement as well is really helpful and important and unifying for our district. And if our parents are engaged and they're interested in our schools. I do think that my other question was you mentioned with the languages, it doesn't work in the music programs, it doesn't work with the program in order to have a second language. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, the way the schedule is blocked. It's hard. So currently not all students at Sandpiper or as that say play music. It's hard to create that elective that satisfies those who desire versus those who don't. So they've been creative with the foreign actual music rather than a locked period of music like they have. So there's nuances there that they're trying to solve.
We creatively think that I'm sure we will tell me about how you have already creatively thought about how to adjust. I know block scheduling is a little bit difficult. We have those big blocks of time that we need to go through on a daily basis. Is there a way to carve out maybe some time for those elective, for that music track, or for that language track? For those who
I will just say our small schools have been incredibly creative and have problem solved in as many ways as they have found feasible to do so. I say nothing's impossible. And I also say that we can do a lot, but we can't do everything. And that is a constraint that is inherent in a small school. I do want to mention real quick in terms of outreach. And again, outreach is outreach, not a end all be all. And could we do more? Absolutely. But I can say that we, over the last several years, have worked so that if middle school choice, and I want to talk about choice too. The middle school, this middle school selection that we're presenting options and our kind of mantra right now is we have 3 great schools in this one. That's what we try and push. There was a time where it was a little bit more competitive. Everybody, there are nights, come here. We got away from them. Started doing a combined event that's recorded for the selection process that's posted on our website where schools work collaboratively to support one another in providing families those options. And I'll talk specifically about last year. We did individualized events for Nesbitt and Sandpiper only as a district before the selection process, because those are different programs and we wanted parents to have the opportunity to see those. We did get quite a few views on those, but you can look at the YouTube, they were viewed, right? The other thing I did reach out and kind of been a little vague because I honestly didn't have all the details. I reached out to Principal Hanson and Principal Higgins. Last year, they actually did some site-specific work and outreach. And as they worked with families during fifth grade conferences, their own families, they hosted their Saturday with their students. Principal Hanson had student ambassadors visit Central Fox surrounding locations, kind of geographic figures and whatnot. Sandpiper did similar work. They facilitated a family tour amongst their families. Their sixth grade teachers visited with fifth graders, so kind of the geographic area. They did some outreach. Is there more that could be done? Absolutely. Did the outreach translate to something different? Not really. Maybe if anything. Last thing I want to mention tools. I think that's an important word. And I made a question on this too as we were talking. So just honestly for the record, we heard one family that said 3 years ago they didn't get a choice. We do our absolute best to ensure that the families get a choice. And we've been pretty good at it. Not 100% really. The last couple of years we've gotten close. But that is in service of running two programs that are very relevant. It's hard to justify.
I keep coming back to the idea that moms talk moms. That is true. But there's something different about the district providing coverage.
Right.
I mean, to me, there's a real difference there. And I think at the end of the day, we just have to, we all need to really think about what's best for the kids. And how can we be sure the decision we make is going to be what's best? I struggle. What was the last talk? I have another question.
Anybody else like to?
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, taking time and engaging with us. We really do appreciate all your feedback. I did want to address just like one part of the discussion. In previous town halls, I felt like there was, and I agree with members of the public saying that, well, why is it so urgent to do this? Why can't you just keep it as status quo? And that is one of our options. It's the status quo. However, I wanted to try to communicate to the families that even though we put status quo as an option, so we I think we owe it to you to that those are the only options on the table, really, at this point. It's status quo, option 2, option 3, option 4. If we did status quo, that doesn't mean that it's status quo forever. In the future, we would need to discuss something like geography. It is not sustainable to continue status quo forever. I'm
saying that status quo would be the status quo as is right now.
Yes.
From what I was understanding is that if we were to go status quo, it would be
status quo as in keeping the schools, but we would be bumping enrollment. We would be forcing that versus.
Yeah, I think from my interpretation, I think that was something that I introduced that wasn't actually part of what we said to the public for in the beginning. I don't think we said initially that you would lose your choice.
Yeah, we didn't say that at the beginning, but it's like another choice. I think part of what I wanted to say, and sorry, April, I don't know if I can just jump in really quick. I wanted to propose something for. And my proposal is that we take this time, right, until February. And we look at how we've communicated and done information nights and all of the kind of things that happen to persuade choice or, you know, persuade people to make their decision on what school they want to go to. And I think that now is a great time because we have a lot of families that are really involved. Community is really involved, the teachers are really involved, the students are really involved. Can we take this time to really focus on those, giving the families, the incoming families, and maybe even the fourth grade families too, more information about the programs? I don't know everything about the programs, but I do feel like there is a preference for Ralston just by default. And I think we're doing a disservice to all the families in the district, even the families that think they want Ralston, by not giving all of the information or not allowing, you know, parents to come in. Somebody used a really great word and now I can't think what it is. It's like parent, like, yeah, maybe, I think you said it's like a group that you said, parent something group.
It's just a five.
Okay, I like that. But anyway, so really, so my proposal is that we don't make a choice at our February board meeting. We don't vote, and instead we focus on how can we boost enrollment so that everyone can have their choice. And maybe it takes a little bit more effort from us, from staff, from parents, from students, to show people that really thought they wanted Ralston, maybe they don't actually really want Ralston, and maybe they really want Nesbit or Sandpiper. And then when we get the enrollment numbers for this upcoming school year, if the enrollment is still low, not enough to, you know, continue, then we look at what options, what vote should we make.
So, right, so it's kind of, you're going for a more status quo, because, so here's the thing, this is what the district is doing. That in February, in order to have those, in order to set up the next school year, this is how I was set 5 or 6 months ago. So by delaying even a vote, that is by default saying we're going with three middle schools for the following calendar year. Okay. So my question, therefore, you're continuing the situation, you're kind of, to my view, you're kicking the can, taking the decision down the road. And so personally, I've seen that too many times at the local, national level, you know, where just, and we've seen it in Belmont City Council, with different situations where just kind of decision is removed and you're kind of saying there'll be others that will decide that. I guess my question to Dan, and kind of following up with, so that we have to kind of keep in mind, that's what we're kind of saying, that's what.
Yeah, we just want to be clear that, I don't feel like it's kicking the can, because I feel like the whole process that when we started in I feel like that's still, like, it's really fast, right? Like, this is a big decision to decide if we're gonna close a school or not close school.
And so I feel like, and I think a lot of other people feel like it is a very rushed timeline, and there's not really any reason for the rushed timeline. Like, I get that it's not sustainable to have underenrolled schools, but I really don't think that taking time to really get all of the information and get the community all the information that they need, I really think that we could wait one more year to make the decision for that, because I feel like, that is not wrong. Merely for the fact that this conversation is, you're going to have students that say, or parents and families say, well, I'm not gonna know when Sandpiper existed, because I know one was really close, or one's gonna be consolidated in the next 2 to 3 years, possibly. I would want my child to have their close school experience. I feel like if we decide to do all three schools, we really need to be committed and firm, if this is what we're going to do. We are going to stand behind these schools, and we're going to support them as much as we possibly can, and that's what it's going to be for. We make a stand and say, we really don't think that this is the right option for our district, and we need, unfortunately, to consolidate. I don't think pushing it is going to be the best thing, because you're going to get schools, or you're going to get families that are not going to make a decision.
You're kind of, the way I kind of, well, we had a chat with it. A decision needs to be made because people thousand. You're taking away choice, but you're also keeping them in an indecisive, like what option were they gonna eventually get?
I guess my idea that I had is that we would actually would know and be able to vote, like, once we see, I guess, yeah, I mean.
Asking you what information, I guess it comes back to each of us has to decide, what information do we still need to make a decision in whatever that channel, that option is? Versus like taking away and saying, no, you can't make a decision. I think there's a difference between advocating for a position and going with your viewpoint versus not saying you can make a decision and then have that for the community is kind of. But can I just ask a little more with the April point, and I guess that you all know really for us and see your last number. When you said, when your definition of status quo is at the enrollment numbers of this year going forward, can you kind of, and versus bringing, having or not, or bringing, signing elementary fifth graders to the smaller schools to build up that capacity? What versus saying at the low, at the under numbers going out? So I guess I'm opening this up to some keeping that in Laura and see if you'll ask Nora. What is the recommendation in terms of under that kind of status quo option? Is it to keep it at the numbers we're seeing now, or is it to say that that's the direction of the board and you're going to then, build it up? Is that what you're kind of?
I guess my thought is that the status quo option has different branches, right? And one of them is increase publicity and outreach to the community to try to see if we can increase enrollment at Sandpiper Middle and Nestina. Another option would be to have some consideration of geography, which I think was what you said that before. I think that's still a possibility for the future, but I think I did not say geography early enough. I don't think it went out to the community early enough. I would not support that for this coming year. I don't think we gave this community enough time to imagine that the entire middle school selection system was changed. I think we could decide on that as a board next year, if we all talked about it, and if we continue to hear from families that they really want this middle to stay open, and they really want Sandpiper Middle to stay open, and say enrollment did increase, and also, right, there's so many different things, but maybe if there were also families who initially went to Ralston, then decided that they wanted to try a smaller middle school after being near Ralston, things like that, I think we could then engage the community and say, you know, we're gonna try to have the offerings as equitable as possible at each of these schools. And we're going to make it more like the elementary school system, right? Where you are not guaranteed your choice. You are not guaranteed your closest school, right? So I think that's the value judgment that we could make in the future if we engage with the community. But again, if our fellow board members, if we hear from the community that the community doesn't want geography to be part of it, then we wouldn't do that. But I don't think we introduced that early enough for them. I think based on the standard we have right now, we need to honor people's choice for this coming.
I agree, and I was wanting to compare these, I realize that I struggle on with the I really want to give our parents a chance to activate the people. I want to do much. And I recognize our timeline, and I know that we need to get things done. But I feel like right now, given the atmosphere in the community, there are people who are interested, right? Our fifth graders are really actively looking right now. They are thinking about it. Our fourth graders and third graders today thinking about it, right? Can we send out an informal poll to the fifth graders before the February 12th? Say, by February 11th, please respond which school would you like to go to? So we have an informal idea of where, then allowing our parents to go and talk to their community members, their friends, their family, other parents, and understand right now, as you said, with all of this going on, what does it mean? Is that
So I would say nothing is impossible. That's what I typically always say. So could we send out a survey to your middle school selection? Now, and say this is an informal selection, we want to know the numbers. Once you submit your choice, you're locked in. Yeah. We need to know our numbers.
But let's just get general sense, right? Just get general sense of what it is.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of parents now, they give you a general idea, but giving.
A lot of general.
There's a lot of general. But giving our parents the chance. Our parents who really want our schools to stay good, right? Who knows the Sandpiper and the Desert Front, who knows their community.
If that's the information that the board desires, if needs to move forward with a decision, we will send out a survey, get preliminary thoughts and issues with graders and present it. That's the first.
My second, I would like to know the information.
One thing I would like to say, one other parent said it, I think not saying that it is not merit what you're saying, but I think you're also doing a disservice to the families and we have a thoughtful, engaged discussion the past 7, 8, 9 years. I know I did, my son's a sixth grader, and I know that you did as well. And kind of thought it through and made rational, collective decisions that right, wrong, or indifferent, we want to acknowledge that that was a discussion in the family, just like the family. And so I just, for me, the discussion in my head is the sustainability of two programs. And in the previous, whatever, 8 years, I think families have had those discussions. And therefore, what I would like to kind of say when I think about like the amazing programs that we have, and they are both truly amazing, which makes this kind of our way forward. But the under enrollment is not just like 1 year look back. There's been 6 to 8 years, right, that where families have had the choice to pick, and they made decisions. It might not be our personal decision, but every family values things differently. And I think that's the beauty of being in a district like ourselves, which has that ability to do that. And not knowing of any, like when we were monitoring the enrollment and not knowing about declining enrollment, which unfortunately is affecting other districts and nationally and the country level too. They have still made a decision that overwhelmingly favors Boston. Again, it's not in on a too smaller school, but they've always had the opportunity to reverse a decision, right? And so, right, whatever the district has done with marketing and outreach and efforts, I am trusting that they've done the best of their ability quickly, and therefore, and the families have made the choices. So I guess I'm wondering what the poll will show, just that with the choice. I mean, the choice, I think families have been making choices of.
I have a friendly conversation. And I feel like, again, it goes back to your moms and dad's stuff. I feel like district outreach versus parental is different. Just keep down my gut parents talking. And I feel like if we were to make this decision and not give our parents an opportunity to sway the minds of their peers and show them how great these schools are and how wonderful they are, I feel like that's a great disservice to our community. If we can have those parents and they can, I mean, it's a super short timeline, guys, sorry. But if we can get them to show us, yes, we can bump enrollment by this much. That would just prove that something like the district, whatever it's called, advisory committee. That is something back to the boards. And they are not going to look at the genetic program, yes, do that. But that's something that's a data point that we have that we can use with people.
That you want to, if you do the survey and it shows the opposite of this, is it gonna guide our decision?
It would help.
Like, the survey showed what you not already, but when future, we do believe that the sort of value we have talks about, we get a conversation from this table and outside of that. We can do better job outreach and work on them and pay attention to that. We put a survey up and we want a response from 10 days. And it shows something outstanding for 8 seconds. We use that quickly with our survey to guide our 5-month conversation.
I feel like it would necessarily be the guiding point, but it would be informative.
On the same topic, I just wanted to just reiterate that I hear that you know there were information being held and that the sites did specific things. But I still feel like in a lot of instances that when there were things
for all of the schools presented to people, that I don't wanna say the preference was given to Ralston, but I know like I received information that was shared with all three schools. And the Nesbit and Sandpiper submission was like just the electives for those. But then the Ralston submission was like everything, every core class, any class, all the classes, not just the electives. So like when people were going through to see like what does Sandpiper offer, it just got a list, a one pager of the electives. What does Ralston offer? A one pager of the electives. What does Nesbit offer? One pager. What does Ralston offer? You know, page after page after page after page after page of choices. So I feel like there is work that we can do on making sure that we have, you know, the right information, the most information that can be presented is presented. I think that there are a lot of people who feel like the smaller programs don't have good academic programs, which is false, and I think that we do a better job of presenting, like, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that all three programs have very similar core classes, is that correct?
They approach it slightly different. They have, we have district adoptions, they have the way they approach their core instruction is different. My approach that's interdisciplinary is slightly different than an approach that is single subject. So yes, they are using the same foundation. They all teach California standards, Common Core standards, that's their metric for their bar. And yes, they teach the same things across districts. There is a little bit different of the delivery method. I will say that in course selection, Ralston benefits from having more teachers and more credentials to teach more things. It's inherent in the program design that's there. So their cores are cool.
I guess I'm saying that in the advertisement, like the two smaller schools could, if they would have put all of their classes, it would have been different, but they only put the electives. You know what I'm saying? It's just not the same information. So you can't compare because the Ralston information is not just electives. For the other two schools, it was just electives. I don't know if that makes sense, but what I'm trying to say is that I don't feel like we're doing our due diligence and our best efforts to make sure that families understand that Nesbit and Sandpiper do have very good, very rigorous academic programs that will prepare their students for high school, whether you choose to go to Vermont or a different school in the Sequoia Union District. So like that's kind of my point, is I think that we have missed the mark a little bit, and I think we can do more. And I feel like we're making this very rushed decision when I don't feel like, granted, I have only been on the board for a short time, my oldest child was in kindergarten. I wasn't paying attention to those schools before I joined the board. But I haven't seen, you know, increased efforts to try to boost enrollment. I think that hearing people say that the fifth graders get to do a field trip to Ralston, but they don't get to take a field trip to the other middle school seems a little like off to me.
I just I believe Ralston, there's somebody who's here to clarify, does a music performance, is that right? Where kids from other schools do come and visit. It's like a concert.
The field trip is done after the schools are signed. We changed that process a few years back because of the issue of so many kids coming here when their parents and they've chosen something else. So the principals have tried to schedule them differently last spring. So that you go to the school that you have been assigned rather than you go see a grade school that your parents aren't choosing for you.
Thank you for the context.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I think building off of it and, right, you're seeing us work through this in real time. Because we can't talk about it at the district office, either whether it's that direction or that direction, wherever it is. Right, we have to do our business in public, which is what we want to do. So although Superintendent Ibarra and CPO Matsumoto and all of the district staff have done a good job of keeping us informed about how enrollment is going and things like that, we weren't discussing it. We were just like, okay, we gotta keep an eye on it. And I do think I did have a little bit of the idea that he said something about it, that might make people say, well, then I'm not going to pick one of the places that has lower enrollment because you brought it up and you're trying to get enrollment to increase. I think this is a good process. I think this has made everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people more paying attention. And now we could do more outreach, trying to increase the enrollment at Nesbitt and Sandpiper middle schools. And letting the community know, for example, that we would be keeping status quo with choice for 2 years. And that in 2 years, we would reevaluate, or maybe it's 3 years, or maybe it's 30 years. So that would be something that we would discuss. And if we did that, we would have to acknowledge that would mean that we would be continuing to put more money into smaller programs that are currently under enrolled. And we would be trying to increase enrollment at those smaller programs through outreach and through word of mouth. And that would be the last chance.
So that, right, but just, and you presented the approach. I mean, this is something that has been in my head. But just that we also give you the other side, I'm sure you also aware of, so the option of status quo short term for any period of time to work on outreach and marketing and build it up organically. I guess the thing to realize is at what point does it become sustainable versus the inspired parents that we have now, right? Is that just now that they're aware, is that we have to find actually sustainable things at a district level? Because, you know, as well as we were all very busy. And just the reality is what I hate the word out of the box, because obviously somebody else said what's in the box, right? Everything out of the box, really, there's no out of the box. Everybody has solutions out there. It's just what works the better. But the cons are that it's not all, I'm just throwing for awareness for a discussion point. It's not all rainbows and unicorns. There are people on the waiting list. So the reality is there's 2 programs that, again, despite best efforts, and despite what's been tried, they are still under enrolled and they're still under capacity, and that is still funds that could be allocated to other programs. So it's hard to make the argument for keeping in my mind without a proper outreach, I guess, sustainable outreach programs. If they're, let me just finish my point. If they're under capacity and it's been tried in different ways, programmatic, switch density movement, you know, to make it a way to just geographic schools. I guess the other thing is the con is that other families will potentially, depending on I guess what the board meeting decides as the right number, they will be assigned. So you're not totally removing the assignment, but we are certainly are apprised this past year, people in the Williams. Now, there are always families that are surprised, right? We've heard that too, where families are on the waivers and have been assigned, and it's been a blessing, right? It's been what they have previously, and that's out there, right? I'm excited that there are preconceptions of it, but I'm just saying that the status quo option. I guess my open-ended question that I have is, what's the period of time for this? And can it be a sustainable process? And also, what are the families that then get assigned to keep the enrollment up at those two smaller I think at some point, that's the reality. And also, what are we doing to, and we look at it as from a business perspective, what I mean by that is an opportunity cost, right? So it's harder than it is now to make a decision. The opportunity cost is, what would that allocation of 400,000 roughly, what would that improve in other services? Wouldn't that give us more flexibility as a district to keep programs open, to make sure that we have counselors in place, that we don't have schools that have to split counselors, so that if the economy changes, we don't have a crystal ball. So while we are, and I agree, the district has done a great job being fiscally conservative and also building in respectable, conservative forecasts. It's just something to keep in mind that we don't know what's going to occur with the economy, with the future administration, with the current, with local politics, with the state, Sacramento, making some of the decisions that they have certainly made. And so it's just something that we have to then realize, like, what is that run rate going to look like, and these are the cons of what's taking away from going down to a single school. I'm throwing this out for us to really kind of consider, and it stinks because there's no good choices, right? And if it makes it even more, I think, a little more difficult, and I'll yield it to you. But I think it makes it even more a little difficult when it's not clear cut based on just finances. Right, we hear most schools because of financials, kind of makes the decision making out of the process because we're doing it so that the district doesn't kind of want it, right? I mean, we're in a different situation, right? But still, it doesn't mean that we can allocate money differently in different ways that still will benefit the students, right? So, I mean, that's how I'm kind of like thinking through it.
I definitely agree that there is an opportunity cost to make decisions. I think, though, if we were to decide to maintain temporary status quo, it would need to be for a longer, or temporary, or short. It can't be even 3 years, because 3 years, if we say 3 years, that same problem with people that can, right? There's a couple months, the same problem. You have your sixth graders, okay, great, I can go in sixth grade, but then your seventh graders are gonna be all, or your fourth graders are gonna be all, oh, but they're going to make a decision in 2 years and I'm not, so at minimum, it would need to be 5 years. Right, and that's a long time for you, as you said, with the opportunity cost. But regarding sustainability, I feel like there may be merit to this district. I keep coming back to my favorite for the education committee. School board started because of funding projects. Right, we needed money, our district needed to do something in order to help support our students in our schools, and our parents stepped up and said, hey, we are going to put together this education project. And that is, I mean, they cover the short-term shortfall, and it has become something that is integral to our district. Why can't the district advisory be something similar, where we have a standard of parents where we say, hey, we need people to join this district advisory. And these people are responsible for helping us advocate and market our smaller schools to others, to the students. And again, I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do right now. But having to give our parents a chance. I'm bringing it back to the poll. I really think we should do a poll. Some kind of survey, say, where are our current middle school or current form of school graders? Where do they, what is their thinking right now? Given everything that's going on right now, given that they're all paying attention, given that we are looking at all those wonderful things said about Nesbitt at the Nesbitt Town Hall, all those wonderful things said about Sandpiper at the Sandpiper Town Hall, having them think about that and give us an opinion. On the 11th of February, so that we can talk about.
I think one thing that would be missing though, if we did pull now, is like the whole point of the information, right? Because I do feel, myself, but I definitely feel like, you know, we haven't been putting the best, I don't want to say about that, we do a great job. I think we could do better. I think we could do better. I kind of wrote a note. I think one of the things, David, that for everybody that I'm concerned about is the consolidation, and I don't know, can we put the numbers again for everything we have right now of like the enrollment number, current enrollment numbers, so like if we were to consolidate Nesbitt and Sandpiper, I think it's like 3, 5, 4. Yeah. Yeah.
No, the one before.
Before that. Yeah. So like, when you would see, it's too far away. So it's not long. Yeah, I guess my point is that I think that if we took all of the students that are at Nesbitt and all of the students that are at Stanford and tried to put them into one of the programs, it would not happen.
So, thank you for that. Let me elaborate a little bit. Because I did hear as a comment in terms of, next steps. So when we are looking at enrollments, we look at the number of students and we match accordingly to the number of staff. So if we have more students going to one, we have more students coming up to Ralston, we make those staffing adjustments based on our collective bargaining with the teachers. That's what we follow. That's what we've always followed. We continue. So making that adjustment, now that if more kiddos were to go to Ralston, we can do that. There's currently 133 at Nesbitt and 119 in Sandpiper. I would not estimate that, my gut tells me the majority of the Nesbitt were supposed the majority wants, probably want to go to Ralston. If Sandpiper were to close, the majority would probably want to go to Ralston. I think we have enough room to absorb folks that want to go to the other small school within. And if we exceed the numbers of enrollments, because there's cap on small program too, then we open up intra-school district of choice for that the second middle school or the only small school to transfer. So we balance with the intra-district transfer. But I would anticipate that the vast majority, if not all of the families from the impacted school would have the choice between years.
I think that if we go by what we've heard in all of our listening sessions, it seems to me that all minus maybe the people who are on the Ralston waiting list, the rest of the students at Sandpiper chose Sandpiper or Nesbitt as the government school, and I find it a little bit hard to think that they would all choose Ralston when they all didn't choose Ralston. Minus the ones that chose Ralston on the wait list. The ones that are currently in bold chose that school.
For the one, no, mean, all the ones that are nested or Sandpiper shows nested or Sandpiper.
Like, it's the ones that are on the wait list, you said there were like 20 something on the wait list for Boston.
I don't know that exact number because not necessarily. As students enrolled, they were assigned a middle school that had space availability, and if they were fine with that assignment, they just accepted that assignment. They really didn't choose it. If they decided to go across, then they filled out a transfer list. So it's a majority of them picked it, but not all.
When you think a majority of them who picked it would then pick Ralston over the other small school?
When we look at rankings, it typically favors Ralston.
Very interesting.
I can see that in that information.
We have the slide that says the number of students that the, 32 to 70 something. And you said that the 36 would be a result of enrolling the current class. Right, the 72 would be the full new sixth grade class, right?
So getting to that maximum capacity, 161. We currently look at the 119. If we take what's currently there, would be the delta of 36 and what's that currently.
Oh, so it's not some current number.
Tomorrow we rostered everybody to be like 36 students. When we did our survey in spring, that number would have been more like 72. Because we'd be balancing at a different time of the year, we wouldn't have already enrolled new families. And so I think the realistic number is somewhere between.
And so if we were to decide to public schools, we're not saying that we're going to pull 36 second graders next year to fill those 36 spots, right? We're not going to pull. Imagine with your 36 students from. Those percent of your classes are going to keep going as 7th grade classes. And where we would be focusing on pulling and enrolling is the 6th grade.
Correct. As we move forward, we wouldn't say, oh, I'm going to start from Ralston and
I just want to clarify.
absolutely.
I was really concerned.
No problem. I do want to just mention something. When we talk about continuing choice, I want to make sure that we're clear. That we always value parent choice. That is, I think, one of our values. And we do our best to accommodate parent choice. We haven't always been able to offer 100% choice. So I don't want our community to also recognize if you're a 5th grade family, that you're absolutely guaranteed your first choice. We've never made that guarantee. And I think to justify, to move numbers even more so we can ensure we hit that number, further detriments our small schools. And I would, 2 other things before I pass it on. I think what you guys said about if we say 5 years out or revisit it 5 years up, it complicates things. And at some point, it always impacts them. I want to say that, I said that we do a survey. If that was the board's desire, I'm gonna reiterate, actually, Trustee Young's point. That's probably not a good idea to do so because we haven't done any education. So that's not mental after the focuses. So maybe
it's not about us. Right, for me, it's about giving our parents the opportunity to go out and educate them. And see if they're able to do it. Because I really believe in the power of the mom.
I do too, and guys. And I would say, we have some pretty strong opinions across the board, and I think our families, are different. I think that conversation exists in our community. So like I said, I don't know, but, I don't think it does.
I would say prior to this, that in my mommy circles, there was never any trying to convince people to go somewhere. It was just, well, everybody's just gonna decide what they want. And so I never tried to convince people to go somewhere before I was on board, and nobody ever tried to convince me to send my kids somewhere.
And I think that's right, because nobody wants to be the person that says, I don't think you're good, you go here, let's go. Right, but having a person where we can go and say, oh, if you're considering and thinking about this, please talk to this person, and this person can help me walk through what that program needs. Someone who's intimately aware of what is involved in that. They can help you walk through it. If you have a designated, this is the person to talk to. I feel like that really helps to shape the conversation, because right now, no one's gonna say, and your child needs this type of school. That's not going to happen, but we have parents in the district, I know parents that go, Shelley, where should my child go to school? What do you think about this in school? What is it, right? And unless someone asks me that question, I'm not going to offer that information. And oftentimes, now I feel like now there's a good chance for us to be able to. And I think wrong.
So let me just, what will this, what is this goal is one from this pop-up goal? The school choice or other surveys or other data, what is it going to show, or not that it's going to show, we don't know what it's going to show, but what are you looking from it as a data point to complement the other data that you've seen? What are you hoping, what as a data point that you want to see out of this?
I think, like I said, I've been having a lot of conversations with, and something I keep hearing is, we need to give money. We need to give our parents a chance to help educate. And I feel like if we don't at minimum give them an opportunity to show us that we can, even right, these numbers, we aren't at 12 kids in the class, right? We're at like 25, right? We're able to activate enough people to say, hey, looking at this right now, having talked to these people, I feel like Sandpiper organizes might be better. If we can show that our parents can help move the needle a little bit, I feel like for me, that's valuable. If they're not able to benefit, that's also valuable. Right? Like, to me, it's an enrollment, right? And you don't want to make it so that we're forcing everyone to go with that. I hear that loud. We need to have that choice for our, we need to pick the big schools, we need to pick the small schools, to be able to make these choices and decisions. And again, as I mentioned, I really hesitate to close the school without making sure that we've done as much as we can do to try and do our job as a board. Someone said this to me. Our job is to be the cheerleaders for her. Right? We should be the people trying our best to make this. And we have this contingent of parents that are so dedicated to the school. Can we not give them a chance to show us that they can help us with this issue? Because right now our district efforts are not good, right? Can we see that they can do something? And in that process, can we use that as a data point, as we think about what to do. You have her.
Getting back on, not as a little clarification. Just a group, right? Okay. No, I think outreach is a valid, discussion, right? I'm just particular to what, because originally I thought you said you're going out and kind of doing a middle school choice, which way are you leaning? But again, that's without, I agree with Superintendent Guara, it's kind of, don't think it's gonna maybe yield what we're hoping it might yield, or what, because then it's kind of going out while there's the hot topic and asking people their opinion. It's always good to get their thoughts, or later, but, it's not, it's without like education, they still are faced with what they know currently. I don't think how that would change from what they currently know about the three programs. And so, and then also it hasn't happened where they can educate themselves because we have the middle school presentations. So I'm just wondering, I think we might be disappointed, depending on what you envision for the question. I think we might be disappointed by putting time and effort into something we might not get back what we need to have better deliberation. I guess. So I have another data point. And as Trustee William is saying, we've had 5 months, we heard the monitor report. We've also had the planning room. We've also know other things that have been presented in board presentations. So I'm just wondering, like, what this flash forward, I guess, will yield us.
So
To help us.
I'm not hoping for.
No, I am.
I'm not, I have to look for. Well, I want to see what can happen. And I feel like a poll or a survey is a low risk way to get an informal idea. And I'm not saying that we're gonna go and educate everything, right? What I'm saying is that I know we have a contingent of folks who are very vested in this. And if they can help educate the community, we're not gonna go out and do bills with her. We can't get that, right? Like, we're not gonna go out and say, oh, we're gonna have to go to the house here, go to the house here, go to the house here, and all here, so we're gonna go, that's not going to happen. But can one have an informal coffee chat with another friend who has a fifth grader, right? And talk with them, like your school, and have that as something that they need to talk about. And not sending out, and I'm not saying send out the survey tomorrow, right? I would say we have the time, this is when we're going to send out the survey, like maybe every 10 and 11. We'll get 2 surveys, hopefully for that 10 survey, right? And see if we can get that results, and have the parent, I mean, we would obviously publicize this, we're gonna have this survey, and in that time frame now and for then, our parents have a chance to talk about it. So
Can I just go to Trustee Bruno?
Yes.
Sorry.
Talk for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we come back to make a vote. But
There are a series of questions. Many members are here tonight and heard. And then might serve people who wasn't engaged already with the survey. And actually, financially, just a variety of questions that don't necessarily want to access if that's too the design committee and IB switched middle school. Was that an effort to increase the
Absolutely.
Did it work?
I think, for IB, just that certification.
Yeah.
I think anecdotally, we've seen a little bit of an increase there.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit easier, with bigger magical, however, I just was certified last year. The team accelerated their work to get that certification. And I do think, that operation had information about IB what certification. We'll go.
Gotcha. And so those two were chosen. as part of an effort to, and you said earlier, given I didn't do, but I'm laying that now. This is one of the early efforts you can lay out as acknowledging that they were under-enrolled in whatever they were before those programs.
We actually went out to Nesbitt and Sandpiper.
Yeah.
Talked with them about the funding.
So yeah, who chose those as winners?
They're in this room, we put out a couple options and that's where we.
So those are like site selections for their staff. Okay. I mean, just keep trying around. There was comments made, and I've heard the same thing from the saying one group is fine, I'm just what's the difference in math per subject? Yeah, you don't have to lay out. We're here, several questions. Is math more advanced than relative?
I'm going to defer to Assistant Superintendent who can like. I certainly for geometry.
Is that with 400 kids in a grade level, you were able to offer multiple sections of 30 kids?
Yeah.
So there is math six, directed studies, math 6, advanced studies 7, algebra, geometry, etc. With only 50 to 60 kids, you do max out 58 students. You have 2 teachers are short. The periods, you get 1 period advanced 6, 1 period regular 6, 1 period advanced 7, 1 period regular 7, 1 period algebra, 1 period 8. So all of the kids have an opportunity, whether you're something or ordinance, but to do regular and advanced, but how it was to.
Yeah, that's why I will clear that I have all the programs and as people are thinking about the decisions that they want to make, whether it's next week or in a month. They should know the answers. But the fact is, we can all agree that all 3 programs are prepared for high school and things like that. And when somebody believes that design thinking or something, I think math is more advanced. You're saying there's something to that well valid.
There's something to be more options of also to prepare, not more advanced inherently in class. They all align their standards and they teach 6 AS, 7 AS, algebra. They all that's what we've spent all of our time working together as a math grade level team over the past years.
Whether you're in something right now, when you do, when your team, best placement, I imagine there's some degree of choices or reason that like it doesn't happen no matter how. So there were only 100 students who picked Nesbitt as a first choice, including intern students. Would you add 20 to 30 more on any given year, or are we only talking about that right?
Add for example.
If there were only 100 students, that you have gone forward with the year to 100 students for middle school, for one of those ones, or would you have added 20 more? But people who chose off as the first choice, you would have given them their second or third to get that number above 100.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Honestly, because we're talking about in our conversation, like status quo or not. A lot of people were here tonight and worried about losing choice. And there's a part about whether how we move forward and where things are. But like, the schools right now are 133 and 119 because of however number are coming. I'm saying in any given year, there's people who you have not given their first choice. And was it because of a certain number so that you can get at the site? How do we get to 119?
Yeah, so this year we did have Ralston at a number, there was an established number, that's based on the way we do enrollment and staffing and parent and whatnot. Once we hit that established number, everybody was given a choice of Sandpiper or Nesbitt. I actually think Nesbitt, if I'm recalling right, Nesbitt actually reached more capacity than Sandpiper, so we're starting pushing people towards Sandpiper. But families that enrolled in the district and did not attend 5th grade did not get their choice.
Right. So we're currently talking about practice that's already like we can say you have been very good about getting first choice for years. That being true, also there are people that can put that size relative to the numbers. So if we kept both or we've done one next year, whether this body have made the choices, it's a practice that you had in mind. And that number could be anywhere from 119 to 116. Like I think we're talking about it, right? Like, so I'm just talk to me what it would look like. If it were, if we were talking about, geography, I think is the right word, we're talking about choice. And we move forward. I heard you say, yeah, 40 people with 36, 72.
Right.
What would that look like? How would you do it?
That's a huge question.
Yeah.
Probably take a stab at it.
Yeah.
So first off, I'm gonna say, I believe, so as a board, I do believe that we have to look at how we spend our dollars in a way to maximize the benefit our students in the best possible. And when I look at 2 under-enrolled middle school programs, I don't think we're benefiting all of our students.
Right.
When I step back and I look in a lens of kind of data, I think there's room for 1 small program and 1 larger program.
Right.
And I think, at that point, the board could even say, we're comfortable running that 1 small choice program a little bit lower.
Right.
And spending a little bit more money, but to do that 2 times over, I can't say that I can support that.
Would it be fair to say that what you're talking about in the sense that we can decide that we're comfortable a little bit lower? I'm not trying to push towards an option, but that agreement could exist with perhaps any of the options.
Correct.
Right? Like we're not saying that going forward, both that we would need, when you say a range of 33 to 72, we're not saying we have to get 72. So people come in saying, you're saying that my odds are twice as low. We're actually not saying.
What I'm saying is, regardless of which option we select, there are trade-offs. And places have to be comfortable with those trade-offs.
And flexibility inside of this.
Correct.
Okay.
When you ask the question about, and I hesitate when I should go down that.
Right.
But I will. If we came to a point where we said, we have these amazing programs across the board, all of our students should be confident in going to any one of those programs, and all of our programs, at the end of the day, get kids where they need to be. So wherever you end up, you're going to have a strong education. I actually believe.
Yeah.
I do believe. But if we were to say that and optimize enrollment across the board, you couldn't say I have 400 slots at Ralston, 50 slots at Nesbitt, 50 slots at Sandpiper, and do a lottery for all of those spots, because you have people going everywhere across the district in the vehicles.
Right.
So then, the next idea is okay, it's a comprehensive school. We want to make sure every school has an opportunity to attend that comprehensive school. Yes. So do you create clusters?
Right.
Probably, Fox, Ralston, Cipriani, Nesbitt, Central, Sandpiper, and do some calculation of percentages. Yes, that's probably getting a little closer. But still, you have families at the top of the district that could buy percentages and lottery be flip-flopped. The other thing that I think we look at is we starts to become issues of if you are that kiddo who took the trumpet, which you were too, we want you to play the trumpet and pursue that dream. And in that case, that is awesome stuff. If you are a kiddo who says, I am thriving with loving a language, I desire kind of integrated design kind of thinking, interdisciplinary projects, that's where we need to go.
Yeah.
We want to honor that. Same thing with Santa. We're not out of box thinking we want to do the design thinking, we'll keep watching. So it starts to limit flexibility and whatnot.
Yeah.
The final thing I'm going to just say, and I'm getting a little bit off topic, Trustee Brown, The survey that we do when we're reaching out to families. I'll just say we haven't got time now. I think maybe it's 2 weeks. We don't put all the responses back. We send out that survey over and over. Our staff, when they haven't heard back, picks up the phone and makes phone calls. And we do our best to capture everybody's comments. So rushing a survey has the potential for actually not capturing the data in a way that is representative. So I would exercise that caution.
There's questions that I think people are wondering, has any wonder if things like phasing out has come up. What's the timeline for deciding that? Like, is that something that is it part of the next board meeting, or is that perhaps like I'm somebody who was here tonight wondering?
Yeah. There's still work to be done. Do I think it can be done? I think it would be very difficult to phase out an IV model, just because of organization and IV's strengths and challenges. I think it would be not ideal in Sandpiper's model, but I think it could be possible in a way that doesn't necessarily have multiple teachers, but it has a single teacher teaching a single class in a self-contained way, and we need to verify that that credentialing actually allows that
right
at 7th and 8th grade. From a educational standpoint, and I think it's my judgment. I know that it's what we want for our kids.
You're answering a different, I appreciate your answering a potentially different question. My question is for a parent who's watching this work right now, knowing that we're going to meet on February 12th. Will they know the answer to this before then or after?
Most likely after. I think it's like I said before, I think one pathway is easier than another to make that decision. I can certainly gather the facts to make sure the board knows what the opportunity is as they're deciding. I think there's also a critical mass. I think, if the number in a class is, say, let's just pick a random number, 20, 24, then that's the number that we have to meet for us to move forward. And I don't think it makes sense to maintain a program with 6 kids.
So when I answer that, it sounds like we're answering the question after the selection period.
No, because we're answering that we're making that decision for 6th and 7th work already there. It's slow because it's slow. So that's a different survey.
Okay. You would make a decision and there would be a separate survey.
We would work with our 6th and 7th grade families.
That is the end of my barrage of questions.
And Trustee Bruno, I will do my best to work clarity of options. Should we decide to move on another hot water should that. For success,
I have one more. We were talking however long ago about like what it might look like to commit to status quo for a certain number of years. Would that be, I don't even know what it looks like to like have that as a decision or something we're discussing it, but would that be contingent upon an effort towards numbers? Could we say for the next pick a number of years, we need to get the point? I'm gonna shorten my question. We would have it where somebody could look at their school and know that in 2 years, this is on, there would be no like hidden message that they would be surprised by us talking about feasibility or viability. They would say, wow, we're at 115. The district's gonna close this, that would look like.
I depend on, ultimately what the board decides, if you want the board to have the, transition.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question about staffing in a smaller school that does close. Is there room for all of the staff to have a position at a pool, or are we talking about moving out from many people off?
Yeah, so I didn't clear from the get-go, we will lay off. We had a good reaction of this. Thank you for bringing that up. A layoff is a lengthy and complex process. It is a legal process that is taxing on districts. We would realize the attrition, we would realize the natural attrition. I.e. when somebody retires or moves on, takes a different position, we would shop. There is the potential that we may be overstaffed in the short term while we navigate that. But we have the flexibility to do that. We will look at our team has started to look at options and where those might land. My commitment to VRSFA is to work closely with them to ensure that we have flexibility to do movements that support that reduction.
And then I assume that would include other staff, not just including teachers, so there are other support staff and like middle school, that would have separate custodian or any other staff members that would.
I think you can classify staff, if there's any educators, those typically move with the kiddos. Our custodial, we have not talked about the custodial reductions. Most of the staffing is our assistant principals, so that is a factor of consideration as well.
And then you mentioned that there could be a possibility of overstaffing. Will the staff have to stay in like if there's going to be overstaffing, like if they or place over another?
Yeah, so actually all of the movements for staff is for the most part dictated by contract. So within the contract, there's provisions if an adjustment needs to be made, if consolidation needs to happen, the ways in which staff and capital first priority over positions. We would be filtering, we would have first priority within. We have to look at credentialing to see where they're credentialed. And hopefully we find spaces that everybody loves as equally as they did their original position. We can't current. But we certainly will do our best.
There's been comments throughout this month. I mentioned numbers come up around EL or social drug status. Why is that there?
So we guarantee our goal is to get families to one or two closest. And a lot of the demographic piece is just the demographics of the district.
Yeah.
And that's primarily how.
And then there was another question earlier that it can simply be yes or no, you said everything. There's a question of are teachers that be heard on this? You're talking to them, they're talking.
So I won't judge how they're hearing it.
Right.
I will tell you what I've done. I started, with this conversation. Sandpiper staff asked me to meet, when I meet with them. Checked in with Nesbit and Mr. Hanson. She said, that everything's good. And then they wanted to meet. So I went out and talked with Nesbit folks. We had more conversation. Nesbit folks asked me to come out again. I went and talked with Nesbit folks. Sandpiper asked me to come out and talk to them. And so yes, I've talked with anybody from the middle school we want to do whether I on this issue. Thank you.
Yeah. There was a motion, but there was a, the end of the table for.
I'll leave from the conclusion. I'll leave it to the board collectively that, provide input on that. And see that is, the board requesting information that helps you. I will say, we need to proceed with caution if we do so, because they haven't had the opportunity for program design, they haven't had that. Staff will not have the opportunity to do outreach, and I wonder, I don't know what the data is going to say. The data could come back a certain way that looks different than all of the historical data that she has. And I don't know what to do with that.
My thought would be, because I do think, I really appreciate the idea of doing a survey, and it's seeing what the results will be. I do think we could, have not done enough outreach so that there's not really any significant change. So what I would propose, is that, if we were to stay on the status quo and we decided that in February, if we were to decide that, then we would, in partnership with the parents and the community, organize, in-person open houses at the two smaller middle schools. And ask for the parents who support those middle schools to help us with those. And then give out a survey that is asking what is your choice for your middle school. And that's your choice.
If I can, I just want to exercise caution with volunteering staff for additional engagement. Outside of the contractual, we can ask, we can provide overtime, but I can't necessarily guarantee that we can organize an additional open house outside of what they're already doing. That is a lot to ask, but certainly I appreciate the sentiment. We'll work towards that, but that's the first step.
Well, sensing is trying to see if there's one of ignore or request by Shelley, trustee consent. So is there still a request for survey given our discussion, or is this tabled until after the vote? Does it make one before we do? Thank you. I heard it.
I just have a question, Superintendent Mora, are we planning situation nights for all, I know the main one for all three schools is Zoom, I brought it. I'm actually thinking. And then you mentioned that Sandpiper and Edit did like propose the thing, were those also via Zoom, or were those?
Yes, they were busy, yeah, they were.
So like this year's plan would then be to probably do them with them as well.
Yes, that's right. And if I can say, I don't wanna, so I trust you, Northern, I appreciate your request and the idea. I think it's a good one. We certainly could work towards those open house opportunities. But I hesitate making that commitment without working with our staff in advance. And I think that's my biggest piece in terms of response.
I understand, and I totally respect, all our faculty's time and, so, I would then say maybe it could be parent-led, and my understanding, although I could be wrong, is, for principals, that they are expected to go to evening events, et cetera. So it could be parents and the principal would be expected to be there. And we would of course appreciate other staff.
Yeah, I mean, there's creative opportunity, I think. Our school do showcases, so maybe there's opportunities of broadening a showcase of not just local community, but the extended community. Where we use our co-op that with the teams.
I just wanna just say, trustee Northrop, I think that's a great idea. I think that having parents and whatever staff would want to participate, I think that a good plan.
That would only happen after you made a decision on keeping both of us. And I'm hearing that even after we keep, even after we decide for that decision, that we may not necessarily be able to do an additional open house type of position.
So I think I mean, the hope is that if you're doing it on the houses for the selection.
Right.
And I don't know whether that's possible. Actually, I will go as far as saying I don't believe I'm a limited assistant superintendent. I don't think open house. Nesbitt, you guys do an open house in spring, right? Ralston does not. So there, perhaps opportunities, but there is an element of their open houses for their families to see what their kids are involved in, not necessarily come and visit them. We can work on that. Sorry, I wasn't. So I do before this again. We would do that. I don't know. Yeah.
I may make one final comment. I know a fair number of the members came up and talk about finances, and I wanted to do just a little bit of clarification on that before we end. Yes, point blank, we will be able to close the deficit should with any of the options that are stated above. However, I want to take it just one layer further. So, again, as it grows oversimplification, there are sense, which means that our revenues are lower than our expenses, right? The way that we can close that gap is by keeping our expenditures relatively flat and want our revenues to catch up with us. So, again, gross oversimplification. As part of that, right, 400 to 400 plus $1,000 ultimately is not a ton of money when you think about our entire budget. That was roughly $69, $70 million, right? But what that means is as we look at keep our budgets steady over time, right? Like there are trade-offs. And I guess as a way to help animate what those trade-offs, right? That $400-ish thousand is shared across the district, right? So that probably means that you have a few $1,000s lost here or there on sites. amongst the central office. That may be if a specific site is thinking, oh, we want to roll out a specific new tool that we're interested in trying. That may not be able to happen, right? Or if a specific central office department is thinking about trying a new tool or a new software, that may not be able to happen, right? So these are things that, you know, are a trade-off, and again, it may not be the biggest thing in the world, but again, to bring it all together, just because they're ultimately will be fine without it, doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that's what we know.
Thank you. So this is a very robust discussion. I think it was presented well throughout the, so thank you for your season with my fellow trustees. I guess I'll adjourn. Do I have a motion? Yeah, it's gonna. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Yeah. I'll be adjourned at 10:07. Well.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Shall we have to think about it?
Great minds think alike, I guess.